What's up guys, this is your favorite fanfic YouTuber, the Fanfic Majesty, and welcome to another amazing video. You can follow me on Patreon for exclusive stories.
8YG. Chapter 231 Kildas vs Feng Youhui. Advertisement. Wei looked at the sleepy, somewhat carefree man in front of him. A smile rises from the corner of the mouth. Ahuo, good luck, I saw the strongest man with fairy tale on the first day. Kildas passed the old man's knock like this. I finally got a bit of energy, and looked at Wei who was smiling on the side. Kildas couldn't help sighing in his heart. Really handsome young man. Yeah, this little brother, does he look very face to face? Listening to Kildas, Feng Youhui waved his hand. Meeting for the first time, under Feng Youhui, this is the first time to come to fairy tale today. Kildas laughed. Brother Feng Youhui, meet for the first time, ha 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 ha. Makarov on the side drank a beer in a glass. Suddenly sighed. What happened, Mr. Makarov? Feng Youhui asked. Makarov said, dark trade unions have become more and more rampant in recent times. Many trade unions have already experienced a shortage of manpower. Feng Youhui's mouth twitched. So, what do you plan to do? I saw Makarov's gaze, staring closely at Feng Youhui. Feng Youhui was stared at and said helplessly. Hey, old man, got it, join fairy tale. Puff. Makarov jumped up from the table. Really? Do you really want to join fairy tale? Feng Youhui held down the Makarov who rushed over. If you say it again, I will quit the union. Makarov hurriedly stopped, and smiled wryly. Ahaha, is the old man just emotional? Advertisement. Randomly took out a handful of magic props for tattoos from behind. So, Xiaohui, where do you plan to cover the emblem? Feng Youhui raised his right hand silently, just cover it on the back of your hand. Okay. Makarov hurriedly put the union logo on Feng Youhui's hand. Yoshi, now, you are a member of fairy tale. Feng Youhui shrugged and looked at Kildas on the side. I saw that the latter did not know when, and the two fell asleep the most. Kildas, wake up. Feng Youhui stretched out his right hand and snapped his fingers in Kildas' ear. I saw Kildas awakening from the secluded doctor. Rubbing his sleepy eyes, looking at the two in front of him. Ahuo, is it over? Makarov's mouth twitched. Just finished. Kildas, if you are sleepy, go back to sleep. It just so happens that you two will come to the union to find me tomorrow morning. Kildas had just finished the task and was too sleepy. He greeted him and turned and left. Feng Youhui also stretched. Well, it seems we have to find a place to live. After that, I said goodbye to Makarov and left the fairy tale. Walking on the street, Feng Youhui's handsome appearance constantly attracts the attention of passers-by. With a fascinating smile on the corner of Feng Youhui's mouth, he came to a villa with this room for rent attached. Relying on his appearance and his 3-inch tongue, the landlord's old lady was dealt with somehow. After the guarantee is completed, the rent is paid the first time after the task is completed. So he moved into his home in this world. In the 3-story villa, the first thing that catches the eye is the huge living room. There are 10 rooms on the second floor, and the master's bedroom on the third floor. Feng Youhui nodded with satisfaction. I ate something at random and lay on the bed. Fell asleep. In the early morning of the next day, Feng Youhui, as always, got up early. Advertisement. Practicing his sword skills in the yard. This is also one of the reasons Feng Youhui saw this villa. He brought a courtyard. After some morning training, Feng Youhui glanced at the time. Quote. You still have time. Quote. Rinse slowly, after eating early, put on a sakura-colored kimono, holding a paper umbrella, and stepping on wooden clogs. As usual, as soon as I arrived at fairy tale, before entering the door, I heard bursts of noisy sounds inside. A smile rose from the corner of Feng Youhui's mouth. It really is a fairy tale. The noise has started in the early morning. Pushing open the door and greeted everyone, Feng Youhui has perfectly integrated into the fairy tale. Going straight to the backyard, Makarov had already woke up early at this time. Is sitting elderly exercise aerobics? Feng Youhui's mouth twitched. It seems that after coming to this world, there are really more and more things that make him speechless. Wang Hao. Makarov looked back. Yeah, Xiaohui, you are here. Feng Youhui smiled and nodded, then he held a paper umbrella. Enjoy the shade under the trees on the side. Not long after, Kildas strode to the backyard. Yeah, good morning, Chairman, Xiaohui. When Makarov heard the words, a big tic-tac-toe protruded on his forehead. It's almost noon now, Gilda's man. Kildas smiled foolishly. Ahaha, isn't this oversleeping? Hey, are you so arrogant now that you have overslept? P.S. Ask for flowers, tickets, and rewards. Author Kun is back with blood. Gentlemen, a warm welcome. Follow-up. Fairy tale can't keep writing, so let's end it here. Chapter 232 First time. Advertisement. Several days have passed since the wedding. During this time, Wei has been by the side of the girls. Konoha village, on the Naruto rock. Wei lay on the grass, closed his eyes and rested. At this moment, a figure came to Hui's side. Here comes the dog's tail grass teasing Wei. The corners of Hui's mouth raised. Tsunade, it's itchy like this. Tsunade chuckled lightly. Huh, the king of the ninja world, is it ticklish? Wei took Tsunade into his arms. Kissed Tsunade's forehead. What's wrong? Come to find me now. Tsunade hesitated for a long time and said. Wei recently, I feel like you have something on your mind. Did something happen? Wei raised his brow. Oh, why do you say that? Tsunade thought for a moment and said. You have been to Naruto Rock recently a bit too much. Wei gave a chuckle. Just like that, you think I have something on my mind. Tsunade looked at Wei seriously. I'll talk to you very seriously. Wei was silent for a moment, then sighed. Ah, it's actually not a concern, right? Tsunade holds Hui's right arm in both hands. Can you talk to me? Wei shrugged. Sure. Wei looked at the sky and said. I may have to leave Ninja for a while. Tsunade asked suspiciously. Leaving Ninja World. Where are you going? Wei shook his head. Well, what the destination is, I don't really know the destination either. Tsunade said. If you just leave for a while, I don't think you need to hide it from us. Wei touched Tsunade's head. Of course I didn't hide it from you, but I was choosing a good time to talk to you. Tsunade looked at Wei deeply. Wei, I know your heart, you are a man who desires to be strong. Tsunade's jade hand lightly touches Hui's chest. Here, it's okay to have us, Wei. Advertisement. Wei heard this, long time no words, just hugged Tsunade harder. Time flies in time, and a year has passed very quickly. On this day, Wei sat in the backyard, looking at the blue template in front of him. System preparation is complete. Naruto World has completely entered the host information. After that, Naruto World will be turned into a symbol and attached to the right arm of the host. The time of Naruto World pauses or continues with the idea of host. No matter where you are in the future, host can instantly come back here. The next crossing can be done at any time. The time is almost up. Wei exhaled. A year's time. Wei didn't tell anyone else what he was leaving, except for the girls. Wei looked back at the girls behind him, with a smile on his face. The system, after I leave, the time in Naruto World will be frozen immediately. Opening square bracket ... closing square bracket. Hui's mouth twitched. Damn it, forget that this mentally retarded system can't speak anymore, gone. Saying goodbye to all the girls with a smile. Wei pressed the button on the panel. With a burst of blue light flashing, Hui's figure has disappeared in the ninja world. At the same time, another world. A huge storm suddenly blew in the forest. The thunder and lightning acted recklessly in the air. A flash of lightning flashed across the air. Taste. The huge lightning hit the ground fiercely. Ahem. It's a spicy chicken system. A secret curse came out of the thick fog. It is Feng Youhui who has just left Hokage world. Wei slapped the dense fog in front of him. Staring at the forest in front of you. How is the forest? Wei opened the system and probed the information of new world. Open black lens bracket new world. Close black lens bracket. Wei, spicy chicken system, ruin my youth. Too lazy to care about the system. Wei felt the magic in her body, and then she took a halt. Suddenly felt the difference. Magic. Wei gathered a group of magic power with his right hand, and slammed into the trees beside him. Puff. I saw a violent explosion. Advertisement. Directly raised the forest with a radius of several kilometers to the ground. Please ask for flowers. Hui's mouth twitched. Hey, what the hell is this? The increase in magic power is also a bit too strong. At this moment, Hui's ear moved and he felt the human breath approaching. Wei shook his head. Well, let's retreat first. After being caught, there will be a lot of trouble. After all, Wei waved his right hand. A bent light radiated in front of him, concealing Hui's figure. Wei tapped his right foot lightly, and his body flew in the air. Wei silently felt the nearest human gathering place. Then flew there quickly. What? Soon after Wei left, several figures appeared in the forest. 0. The visitor looked at the big pit in the forest. Are swallowing saliva. What kind of magic power is this? It's definitely not an existence we can afford. A young man said. Captain, what shall we do next? The leader shook his head. We can't control it, just report it on time. The subordinate nodded. Yes, Captain. At the same time, Wei finally came to a town. Looking at the European-style buildings in front of me. Wei felt a sense of familiarity. It's so familiar here. With this sense of familiarity, Wei scattered the effect of bent light. Wandering in the town, although Wei is dressed in a kimono, there are too many people in the town in strange costumes. Did not arouse passers-by's attention. On the contrary, it was Hui's appearance, which caused him to encounter a lot of trouble. Without him, so handsome. Wei walked all the way, and inquired. Finally got the information he wanted. A smile rose from the corner of Hui's mouth. Sure enough, it's here, then go to that place first. Fairy tale. That's right, this is Kingdom of Fiori, Magnolia. P.S. New World Chapter 233 Fairy Tale. Advertisement. Wei walks on the road, feeling completely different intuitive feelings brought by different worlds. Sure enough, there are still some modern products that make people feel comfortable. Wei looked at the slowly starting train beside him and thought. Finally, after a few well-meaning people's guidance, Wei came to a two-story building in the city center. Fairy tale. Wei whispered the name on the sign. An old man's voice sounded from behind. Ahuo, young man, are you here to release the mission? Wei looked back at the small old man beside him. The old man is wearing a beige trench coat with a red shirt lining. It is the current fairy tale president Makarov Dolia, 63-0. Wei raised his brows and a smile appeared at the corners of his mouth. Do fairies really have tails? Makarov chuckled softly upon hearing this. No one has seen a fairy, naturally no one knows whether a fairy has a tail. Because of this, there are eternal puzzles. And the eternal puzzle is the eternal adventure. Makarov looked at Wei beside him and chuckled. Young man, it looks like you are not posting the task. Wei nodded. To be honest, I just passed by here. Makarov patted Pahui's calf after hearing this, after all, he was too short. Young man, are you also a magister? Come in and sit down, maybe you will fall in love with this place, maybe. After all, Makarov took the lead in opening the door of the guild. Hui's mouth is always smiling. Well, then it's better to be respectful. Stepping into the union, the situation inside really disappointed Wei. I haven't seen any familiar characters in the previous life. Instead, there are more people who I haven't seen before. Wei sighed in his heart. It seems that the time is a bit wrong. The fairy tale in front of me is a bit too shabby inside. Can't compare with the inside of the guild at the beginning of the original book. Wei shrugged. Well, the impact is not big anyway, is it? Follow Makarov to the bar. Advertisement. I saw the latter holding a glass full of wine in his hand. Hand it to Hui's body. Wei was not polite, caught the wine glass and sat on the chair in front of the bar. Young man, what's your name? Huipen tasted the world's first drink. Well, the taste is okay. Feng Youhui, how about you old man? My old man's name is Makarov Dolea, Feng Youhui, is his name quite special? I also added a sentence, just like your magic. In fact, when Wei stood at the door. Makarov holds the belief that he must protect his children as the president. I've explored Hui's magic once. It's just that just contact, the magic of oneself is inexplicably disintegrated. But, just by relying on that amazing glance, Makarov saw the magic that he could never forget in his life. How vast is that? How rich? The purity is so high. Makarov swears that he has never seen such high-quality magic in his life. In other words, should this magic power exist in the world? Perhaps it was Hui's outstanding appearance that gave Makarov a feeling that he must be pulled into the guild. That's why the two of them are sitting at the bar and drinking. Hui's face is always smiling. Although I did not see Naz and others, the atmosphere of fairy tale is really good. Makarov has been observing Hui's expression. Seeing Hui's expression of satisfaction, a gleam of light flashed in Makarov's eyes. Feng Youhui, what level of magister are you now? Wei raised his brow after hearing this. Does the magister still have levels? Is it mentioned in the original work? Wei expressed his regret. Makarov nodded secretly. Sure enough, it should be the guy who just entered the city. Makarov patiently explained. Magic will of course be divided into levels. According to the amount of magic power, purity, and the power of using magic, the magister is divided into F, E, D, C, B, A, S and Saint 10 from the bottom up. As for further up, when you join the guild, the president will naturally tell you. And among them, the S-rank magister can only be obtained in the guild. Only in the guild. Advertisement. Yes, this is the purpose of Makarov. According to what he observed, the magic power in Teru's body will definitely support him to rise to a level. As for the S rank, it can only be obtained in the guild. There is no doubt that Makarov just wanted to bring him in. Hearing this, Wei understood Makarov's meaning in an instant. Said to Makarov with a chuckle. Old man, are you so confident that I will join fairy tale? Makarov shook his head. Actually, the old man is not sure, but let the confused young man find his way, maybe he will succeed. Wei laughed at what Makarov said. Of course, it does not rule out that Makarov has a miserable ingredient. But what he said is right. After all, Makarov is one of the rare presidents who value guild members. Besides, this anime is called Fairy Tail, isn't it? Wei pondered for a moment, but before answering, he heard the door open with a bang. Wei looked at the man with an orange back. Heap little Hugui, wearing a dark green cloak. The guild's coat of arms is tattooed on the left chest, 5.3. Wearing a dark vest, with a wide belt around his waist. Dark blue trousers. It is Kilda's. It's just that there is a bubble on Kilda's nose at this moment. It seems that I fell asleep again while walking. Makarov is also going to announce how beautiful the fairy tale is. As a result, Kilda's interrupted. A huge hash character appeared on Makarov's forehead. Hit Kilda's head with a punch. Just listen to Thebang. Kilda's woke up quietly, looking at Makarov with sleepy eyes. Yeah, I'm back. Chapter 234 Kilda's vs Feng Youhui. Advertisement. Wei looked at the sleepy, somewhat carefree man in front of him. A smile rises from the corner of the mouth. Ahuo, good luck, I saw the strongest man with fairy tale on the first day. Kilda's passed the old man's knock like this. I finally got a bit of energy, and looked at Wei who was smiling on the side. Kilda's couldn't help sighing in his heart. Really handsome young man. Yeah, this little brother, does he look very face to face? Listening to Kilda's, Feng Youhui waved his hand. Meeting for the first time, under Feng Youhui, this is the first time to come to fairy tale today. Kilda's laughed. Brother Feng Youhui, meet for the first time, ha 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 ha. Makarov on the side drank a beer in a glass. Suddenly sighed. What happened, Mr. Makarov? Feng Youhui asked. Makarov said, dark trade unions have become more and more rampant in recent times. Many trade unions have already experienced a shortage of manpower. Feng Youhui's mouth twitched. So, what do you plan to do 6:30? I saw Makarov's gaze, staring closely at Feng Youhui. Feng Youhui was stared at and said helplessly. Hey, old man, got it, join fairy tale. Puff. Makarov jumped up from the table. Really? Do you really want to join fairy tale? Feng Youhui held down the Makarov who rushed over. Furthermore, I will quit the union. Makarov hurriedly stopped, and smiled wryly. Ahaha, is the old man just emotional? Randomly took out a handful of magic props for tattoos from behind. So, Xiaohui, where do you plan to cover the emblem? Feng Youhui raised his right hand silently, just cover it on the back of your hand. Okay. Makarov hurriedly put the union logo on Feng Youhui's hand. Yoshi, now, you are a member of Fairy Tail. Feng Youhui shrugged and looked at Kildas on the side. I saw that the latter did not know when, and the two fell asleep the most. Kildas, wake up. Feng Youhui stretched out his right hand and snapped his fingers in Kildas' ear. I saw Kildas awakening from the secluded doctor, rubbing his sleepy eyes, looking at the two in front of him. Ahuo, is it over? Makarov's mouth twitched. Just finished. Kildas, if you are sleepy, go back to sleep. It just so happens that you two will come to the union to find me tomorrow morning. Kildas had just finished the task and was too sleepy. He greeted him and turned and left. Feng Youhui also stretched. Well, it seems we have to find a place to live. After that, I said goodbye to Makarov and left the fairy tale. Walking on the street, Feng Youhui's handsome appearance constantly attracts the attention of passers-by. With a fascinating smile on the corner of Feng Youhui's mouth, he came to a villa with this room for rent attached. Relying on his appearance and his 3-inch tongue, the landlord's old lady was dealt with somehow. After the guarantee is completed, the rent is paid the first time after the task is completed. Then, BCFD moved into his home in this world. In the 3-story villa, the first thing that catches the eye is the huge living room. There are 10 rooms on the second floor, and the master's bedroom on the third floor. Feng Youhui nodded with satisfaction. I ate something at random and lay on the bed. Fell asleep. In the early morning of the next day, Feng Youhui, as always, got up early. Practicing his sword skills in the yard. This is also one of the reasons Feng Youhui saw this villa. He brought a courtyard. After some morning training, Feng Youhui glanced at the time. You still have time. Rinse slowly. After eating early, put on a sakura-colored kimono, holding a paper umbrella, and stepping on wooden clogs. As usual, as soon as I arrived at Fairy Tale, before entering the door, I heard bursts of noisy sounds inside. A smile rose from the corner of Feng Youhui's mouth. It really is a fairy tale. The noise has started in the early morning. Pushing open the door and greeted everyone, Feng Youhui has perfectly integrated into the fairy tale. Going straight to the backyard, Makarov had already woke up early at this time. Is sitting elderly exercise aerobics? Feng Youhui's mouth twitched. It seems that after coming to this world, there are really more and more things that make him speechless. Makarov looked back. Yeah, Xiaohui, you are here. Feng Youhui smiled and nodded, then he held a paper umbrella. Enjoy the shade under the trees on the side. Not long after, Kilda strode to the backyard. Yeah, good morning, Chairman, Xiaohui. When Makarov heard the words, a big tic-tac-toe protruded on his forehead. It's almost noon now, Kildas. Kildas smiled foolishly. Ahaha, isn't this oversleeping? Hey, are you so arrogant now that you have overslept? P.S. Ask for flowers, ask for tickets, ask for rewards. Author Kun is back with full blood. Grandpa, a warm welcome. Follow-up. It's been too long. I don't have the outline behind the fairy tale. I'm going to go straight into the pirate. Open black lens bracket 233 close black lens bracket One Piece World, Logue Town. Open black lens bracket 233 close black lens bracket One Piece World, Logue Town. East Blue Logue Town. Just 22 years ago, the place where the pirate King Roger was executed. Here is the execution stand that was famous all over the world at that time. At this time, the sun was shining and the sun was shining. A black-haired young man looked at everything around him blankly. Wait until you see the content of a newspaper that suddenly comes. He couldn't help but smile and nodded. I didn't expect that I would come to the world of One Piece today. But then again, after leaving the Naruto world, through that magical passage. Now that the world of One Piece has been mentioned, I shouldn't be surprised if I look at it here. This is Logue Town. Looking at the bustling people around, there are all kinds of men, women and children in all walks of life. There are old, weak, sick and disabled. Hirano finally accepted this fact. Right now he was feeling the strangeness that was vigorous in his body. At the same time, it is also trying to summon the interface of the system. However, he failed. Hey, your system is a bit too unreliable. If this continues, I will choose to replace it. But he said all the good things and threatened bad things. The system interface that should have come out is still not coming out. Obviously, for him who came to the world of One Piece for the first time, the first thing he had to do was to be familiar with the current situation. First of all, we can be sure that this is the Logue Town of East Blue. The tall execution platform also symbolizes everything. 22 years ago, a generation of King One Piece, Roger was thrust into the body by Tu Xingxingguan with a knife. Before dying, the words that were shouted that triggered a wave of wild waves in the sea for 20 years. Although it's cheaper, when he was next to high end, his face was calm because of him. Since I came to the world of One Piece, why do I have to choose this time period? Wouldn't it be better for me to let her fight against that group of monsters 40 years ago? What is the so-called era of great pirates? It's nothing to me. While he was in doubt, he suddenly saw a pair of marine-escorted prisoners on the street in Logue Town. Majestic passed. All those people ahead avoided it. This is Marine's Special 12 Escort Channel. Crash into you, don't blame us. The people nearby heard the howling of Marine, and one by one they avoided the road. For them, these generals who are above all on weekdays. While protecting their safety, they will not be disturbed by pirates. In this regard, these Marine generals do not have a good reputation. They always think about charging protection fees and the like. Even Logue Town has been listed as a key area by the world government. Similar things are strictly prohibited. But even so, corruption cannot be curbed at all. Look, Marine seems to be a wanted criminal caught from the sea again. If nothing else, I'm afraid I can get a big bounty again this time. Oh, when the two of them come, what will you have to do with us? You still think tomorrow morning to protect our safety, but in the end, over the years, there have been more and more pirates at sea. Marine is talking about justice, but secretly. I don't know how many people have been charged with black money. I really don't know how to survive in this world. Bustling. Hearing the voice of the discussion next to him, Feng Youhui raised the corners of his mouth while listening to what the people around him were talking about. The smile is inexplicable, I don't know its meaning. It seems that the crows in the world are generally black. No matter which world it is, the grassroots troops will not have a good reputation. Pirate. If I remember well, Marine does not seem to be a good image in the eyes of ordinary people. But then again, Marine does play a role in protecting civilians. Of course from the hands of the pirate. As for the hands of other people, they simply can't do this. But since Hirano chose to come to this world, then he is bound to do something great. But right now the system is not activated and there is no response. He also didn't know what the next purpose was. Fortunately, someone unwilling to be lonely asked a question like him. Hey, brother in front, I have a few knives here, they are suitable for you. Hirano was stunned, the voice was somewhat familiar. There is always a sense of sight. He turned around, and a man who looked like a middle-aged shopkeeper took off a long knife from his hand. Recommending to him, Hirano stretched out his finger and pointed at himself. Boss, are you talking to me? The middle-aged boss nodded heavily. Of course, guest, only you are worthy of this treasured knife. We are one of the few treasured swords that have been circulating for nearly 100 years. Hirano was interested, although he didn't know how the other party found himself to promote. But, he suddenly remembered that when he first arrived in Naruto world, what he loaded seemed to be the captain's template. Thinking about it this way, he really should have an indissoluble bond with the knife. Then he turned around, about 50 meters behind him. A knife shop called Rog's Miracle Light came into view. The name is also interesting. Without thinking about it, he followed the boss into their shop. Inside the shop, there are various knives of different lengths on the upper and lower tool holders. He looked over and found that those knives were excellent. Of course, the middle-aged boss just used this method as a means to attract customers. It is of course extremely exciting for others to see that Hirano is really interested in the sense of knife in his shop. He quickly introduced the knives on the row of tool holders in front of him. As Hirano's gaze shifted, the boss was also very witty. Take down the knives on the knife holder one by one, and pull out the scabbard. The sparkle of the blade represents the invincible glory of this knife in the past. The guest's knife is called Yi Bai, and it was more than 100 years ago in the knife everybody. It has been in circulation for 100 years, and this has only come to my hand. The blade is 3 feet 6 inches long and made of pig iron. This one is very good, how much is it? Oh, dear guest, if you really want to, I can give you a discounted price, 800,000 Baileys, based on the idea of making friends. Hirano continued to nod his head. In the eyes of the boss, it seemed that he was planning to buy it. He put the knife back on the knife holder. The boss's face changed, but he still didn't react. Here Feng Youhui asked faintly. What is the most expensive knife in your shop? The owner of the knife shop originally thought that this guy was just a free prostitute. Hearing what the other party said, he could only look at Hirano again and let out a long sigh. I see. He originally thought that the other party was just a pauper. Now it seems that I underestimated others. Brother, of course the most expensive knife in our shop won't let you down, I will bring it out for you. While he was talking, he took out a sealed knife holder from behind him. Obviously a knife that looks unusual, and inside this knife box is the unusual knife he said. It is also the treasure of the town shop in their knife shop. The reason why Hirano asked this question. It was because he wanted to see how hard the weapons in this world are. Although he chose to load the captain's template at the beginning, ordinary weapons could not withstand the impact of the swastika at all. But as far as he knows, there are also some extremely powerful weapons and knives in One Piece's world. Those are the so-called supreme sharp knives, 12 knives and 2 to 50 knives. He knew it all, so what kind of good things can this boss bring out? He is also very curious. After blowing off the knife and the layer of dust on it, it can be seen that the owner of the sword treasures this knife very much. Not only the knife itself, but even the casing of the knife and the wooden box are well preserved. This knife can definitely be regarded as the treasure of our shop. Not only that, but I am afraid that the entire East Blue will be unmatched. If you really want this knife, I suggest you think about it again, because this knife is not ordinary. Hearing that, Yuya was quite interested. Although knowing that this guy is most likely to be nothing more than a shameless propaganda method by the business. But at the moment, he just happened to panic at his idleness. You can learn about this world and find yourself a weapon that is worthy of your hand. The boss sees clearly. Hirano was obviously moved by what he said. He quickly took the knife in his hand, passed it to the other party. He was very careful when he handed the knife. It can be seen that he is very worried that the knife will be damaged due to this action. Please be careful. This knife is really the treasure of our shop. If there is any accident, the one in my family will probably kill me. Hirano smiled understandingly and nodded. Immediately from the scabbard, he drew out the red radiant knife. Although he has not yet come out of his body, the radiant light has already made him a little awe-inspiring. He knows that this knife is definitely not simple. Shock. A blush, for an instant. Hirano felt as if his eyes were corroded by a bloody color. At the moment when he almost lost himself, the knife seemed as if nothing had happened. It's just with extremely faint bloodshots one after another, condensed on the blade. The blade shone with a cold light. It seems that the next moment the knife will be out of its sheath, and the blood will kill. Although he doesn't know the knife very well, he can already see the knife from this. It's definitely not Fanpin. Seeing him nodded subconsciously, the owner of the knife shop next to him was very pleased. He has not only shown this knife to a friend in front of him. But at the beginning, whether it was those swordsmen with special skills, or ordinary collectors who wanted to collect them as collections. None of them spoke highly of this knife. For a while, it was precisely because of the existence of this knife that his knife shop became a log town. A shop that is notoriously hard to sell knives. But he himself loves this knife tightly. On the one hand, it was because of the things passed down from his ancestors, and on the other hand, he did not understand swordsmanship. He didn't understand anything like Janao and greatsword at all. But for the love of swords, he believes that no one can be stronger than him. Originally, according to Hirano's plan, he had no plans at all. Explore the pirate world first, and then find a way to activate the system. He can feel the huge energy fluctuations in his body, although he is confident that he will not encounter any danger. But it's not bad to have a handy weapon. The boss can ask for 800,000 baileys for that ordinary knife just now. Then the price of this ancestral treasure that he praised to heaven will be very ridiculous. But for Hirano 630, this doesn't matter. He just wanted to take this opportunity to get acquainted with the world. In the impression, one in the world of One Piece saw that bailey should be approximately equal to the yen. But when the boss told the price of the knife, even if he was mentally prepared, Hirano was surprised. What did you say? You knife 80 million bailey. The boss nodded calmly. That's right, the guest. This is a treasure that was passed down from my family's ancestors more than 100 years ago. It can no longer be described as a weapon of magical weapons. Even if her name is not included in the 12 supreme sharp knives, I still think it is enough to be among them. It is precisely because of the lack of popularity that I did not reduce the price by 100 million times. Quote. Hirano nodded. I see. He didn't really have any objections to the price. After all, he saw it clearly after the knife was out of the sheath just now. This knife is indeed not a simple commodity. But the problem is, he has no money. As a businessman, the owner of the knife shop is so savvy and naturally perceptive. The guy in front of him clearly doesn't look rich. At this moment, he finally revealed his nature, and for a while, the boss's complexion didn't look good. This guest, you have gone through the several treasure knives in this shop. How about if you still think it's good, pick one. Feng Youhui waved his hand with a faint smile. Although your knives are very good, but if you are to be honest, there is no one that can make me look forward to it. This is the normal communication when shopping. But this kind of remark fell in the ears of the boss, but he was regarded as an insult to himself. In that case, guest, please forgive me not to entertain. Unexpectedly, I just said a circle. He was even ordered to evict the guest by the other party. Feng Youhui smiled and spread his hands. There is really no penny in this place. But you can't grab it directly, this is not his style. He is not the group of unruly pirates. With that said, he can only get out of the door of the knife shop. When he was about to go out, he suddenly remembered something. Then he turned around and looked at the prop shop owner. I want to ask, where can I get money? The boss still had a sorrow about Hirano's words that he just bury his own sword. So I can grunt if I'm not angry. If a guest has the ability, he should grab Celestial Dragon's heavenly gold. That's a full gold exchange for Pele, it's universal in the world, and it's a childish man. Feng You's ambition moved and clasped his fist at the boss. Thank you. 234, news from heavenly gold. 234, news from heavenly gold. The boss's expression of disdain has already set this guy into a pauper grade. He even sighed, why he was wasting time. When I first saw Hirano, I felt that this young man had an inexplicable temperament. It seems that even if it is oneself, there is a time to make mistakes. He also sighed and shook his head and returned to the store. Sitting in a rocking chair, enjoying afternoon tea. The reason why he just talked about the heavens in the comments. The matter of going to gold is precisely because of the recent celestial dragons talking about the heavens of gold. Everyone dared not speak. Because of this incident, I don't know how many people have been destroyed and their wives are scattered. But, it is protected by the world government, and the various levy items are all formal. Although on the surface it is voluntary. But when I saw the arrival of the majestic marine and world government officers and soldiers, how can ordinary people insist on not paying? This is simply seeking a dead end. However, in recent years, the proportion of heavenly gold payment has become higher and higher. For them, this has become an unaffordable burden. Because no matter who it is, ordinary people, or a rich family with a little wealth like him, all must be paid in proportion to your annual income in accordance with the consideration given to you by the world government. Therefore, no matter what kind of economic situation it is, it will fall into poverty because of the payment of heavenly gold. So over the years, all kinds of turbulence and resistance have been caused by this incident. Not without. But celestial dragons, as the descendants of the gods of this world, are descendants of the Creator. No matter what, it will not be easily overthrown successfully. What's more, behind them are the two ace of world government and marine. How could it be so easy to lose? The endless repression is naturally faced with endless resistance. It's just that it's not known how long it will take for this process to be successful. How many people can wait until this day? The boss sighed and turned back to the backyard. He said that Hirano heard the boss talk about heavenly gold. Interest suddenly came, and he was worried that he could not do something. The original system seemed to be asleep, and there was no way to give him a hint. Even if Pirate World knows it well, everything is difficult at the beginning. This is probably the reason. Yes. Grab the heavenly gold. This is a very good idea. Heavenly gold, as the name suggests, is like the money handed in by celestial dragons. The money will be forced by the world government and marine to be the currency of pure gold to facilitate transportation. No one knows what celestial dragons do with the money. But the only thing that can be certain is, the source of this money is definitely ordinary people from all over the world. Of course Hirano knew this. So he has made up his mind. Starting from robbing the sky for gold, it just happens to make one's own name become more prominent in this world. Just do it. He began to plan this matter. To rob the heavenly gold, first of all, he naturally needs to know the whereabouts of this thing. Logically speaking, celestial gold handed over important things to celestial dragons. The degree of protection is tight, one can imagine. What's more, heavenly gold is a symbol of celestial dragon status. If celestial gold encounters a problem, it is almost equivalent to celestial dragons being attacked and attacked. This is a major event that can attract Marine Admiral. For these, Hirano didn't care much. There is only one thing he cares about. That is where is the gold in the sky. Wandering to a pub in Logue Town. After all, the pub is the best place to inquire about news. Advertisement. There is no need to actively ask at all, and countless news can reach his ears. In the tavern, there is a mixture of fish and dragons, with 3 teachings and 9 streams, everyone has them. After entering, there were noisy and yelling sounds in disarray. The smell of alcohol and smoke is noisy everywhere. Feng Youhui found a relatively quiet corner. 2 pots of wine are coming, so I just sit there and drink slowly. At this time, 2 people not far from him had a dispute. The issues discussed by the other party caught his attention. Yoke, I have said that this thing will never allow you to make any horrible ideas, but what do you mean now? If you really want to set foot on the Grand Line, I have to warn you. This thing has caused a murderous disaster. Don't blame me for not reminding in advance. The people you can come back from that place are all demons among the demons, and you are all offended. Sorry. A middle-aged man and a young man are talking about issues. But it's about some preparations to set foot on the Grand Line. The Grand Line is a section of the route to explore the piece of Grand Secret Bay in One Piece world. The first half is also called the Pirates' Paradise. The new world in the second half is the tomb of all pirates, especially for the newcomer pirates. The people who can appear in Logue Town are all inspired by the words of Roger, the One Piece King, who came to this starting place and wanted to embark on the journey to the Grand Line. After all, whether it is carrying the name of a dream, or for the simple One Piece huge treasure. After all, it was the accumulation of One Piece, Roger's life. No matter who it is. Sure enough, the young man sneered disdainfully after hearing what the middle-aged man said. Panda, don't think you can teach me casually when you are old. I will tell you that I will never give up on this thing today. The middle-aged man shook his head and smiled bitterly. You will regret your decision. This time, it's not just marine generals who escorted these things through Logue Town. The reason I stopped you is because this thing and the heavenly gold were transported to the Holy Land Mariajoy. Why don't you even understand this truth? The voices of the 2 of them have been suppressed very low at this time, but who is Hirano? He had already heard the other party's words clearly. It seems that these guys are planning to snatch something from the team of supplies delivered to celestial dragons. Although it is not sure what it is, or it is a symbol of great wealth. Or it can improve the strength, nothing more. What interests him even more is that he didn't expect to find nowhere to go through the iron shoes. He actually found the clue of the heavenly gold. When the 2 men talked about this, they realized that they couldn't talk about it casually in this place. So he left the tavern, ready to talk in detail. After all, at the moment, the matter of heavenly gold has been arrested very strictly. The thing that the 2 of them were looking for was with Tianshengzhen and was about to be transported to Mariajoy, the great pilgrimage site of celestial dragons. If once you really get to this point, then don't think about both of them. After the two got out of the tavern, Hirano pretended to be fine and slipped out. He wanted to rub a few bottles of wine with his skill. Naturally, it was not a problem. He finds it more interesting. At the moment, two men, a young man and a middle-aged man, are just to discuss clearly whether or not they are going to be escorted from among the things. Grab the things that belong to them. Hirano fell far behind, and he knew that these two guys were very good. Turning corners from time to time is to use the chase behind you. I didn't know that after turning a few turns, the pace of the two finally stopped. In a dilapidated courtyard, suddenly the middle-aged man turned around abruptly and shouted backwards. Come out, I know you have followed us for a long time. The young man was taken aback by the middle-aged man, and immediately reflected. With a fierce expression, he pulled out the shining steel knife on his waist, looked around for it, and saw no response. The middle-aged man tried again, and after a full quarter of an hour, there was still no response. Hirano saw all this in his eyes and felt a little funny. With one's own disguise, these two waste woods are of course invisible. Then there is only one possibility, this guy is cheating him. This guy should just want to try, is there anyone behind him tracking him? Panda, what do you mean? Is there really someone following me? The middle-aged man shook his head, it seems that there should be no. I just wanted to give it a try. The current situation is too turbulent, you have to be careful anyway, after all, be careful to sail the 10,000 years ship. Only then did the young man react, and he kept sighing in his heart that ginger was still hot. Although this old thing is a bit annoying, it does ultimate in this respect. In fact, what he said was right, and the current situation must be careful. After the trial was completed, it was found that there was nothing unusual. The middle-aged man let out a sigh of relief and relieved. He and the young man entered a dilapidated yard together, and Hirano had already reached the roof of the yard by this time. With his personal hearing, for all the movements and conversations in the house. Able to hear clearly without fail. Yoke has to say, you guy is really an idiot. How can we discuss this kind of thing in a place where people are full of words? You have to know that even if only the two of us have a treasure map to guide that thing, but at the moment there is a mixed bag of Logue Town, everyone has heard the relevant news. Although I don't know who released it, once the things that we have the treasure map are known to others, what a big impact this will have, we too may be killed at any time. The young man finally changed his face when he heard the middle-aged man say this. I didn't think so much, I was just anxious to know the specific whereabouts of those things from you. If I am really reckless, then I apologize, but according to your opinion, can't we get those things right now? Quote. If we were to be sent to the Holy Land Mariajoy with Tianshengzhen, then we would really be out of play. With our two strengths, I am afraid that going to New World would be bothersome. At the moment, only Logue Town is our only chance. Hearing what they said, Hirano became even more interested. What is it that can make them so sure and willing to take risks for it? You must know that you will be decapitated if you act on the heavenly gold. The thing that these two guys wanted at the moment was transported to the Holy Land Mariajoy along with the heavenly gold. If nothing happens, it should be. He was about to make a difference when he suddenly felt that a large number of people were coming towards this broken yard. The face of the middle-aged man named Panda changed drastically and he roared. York, B*************************************** D, are you enough news? York's face was blank, he shook his head. It's definitely not me, you have to believe me, I have already lost half my life for this thing, how could it attract other people? Furthermore, who do you think I can attract? This is just my first time in Logue Town. Hearing the young man's excuse, the middle-aged man could only nod his head. The other party was right, the situation in Logue Town, the two of them were stranger than the other. That's why he just stopped the young people from talking in the tavern just now, but the number of people who came to this broken yard after listening to the movement is already at least 50 or 60 people. In addition to the pirates who have such a scale, marine, if it is the former, it would be okay. If it is the latter, then everything is over. The two came to the back door of the broken yard, ready to escape at any time. After all, the other party has a large number of people, and they certainly have no reason to head on with them. At this moment, the pair was headed by a scar face. Holding a steel knife in his hand, he yelled towards the damaged yard. Panda, you damn fellow don't want to run away anymore, I have already found someone to surround the back door of your yard. Hearing this voice, the middle-aged man was stunned, Wang Hao, on the spot as if he had been struck by lightning. The young man didn't know what happened to the middle-aged man, so he wanted to ask more. I saw that the other's face changed drastically. Yoke, you should escape by yourself. I shouldn't be able to escape. Those guys will never let me go. Young people have never seen a middle-aged man like this, since the two of them have become partners. Although it cannot be said, what a great harvest. But there has never been a miserable experience. The two of them cooperated in tacit understanding, and they already had a deep relationship. So at this time, hearing the middle-aged man say this young man, it was a little surprised. He is very clear about the other's character, selfish, cunning and domineering. But right now, there was a trace of panic and helplessness in the other's eyes. He was surprised. Panda, why are you so scared? Who is the other party? He knows that the person who can make Panda so scared is not small. However, Panda didn't care to answer him at all, and pushed York away and walked towards the front door. He knew that he could not escape at all. In this East Blue, no one is not afraid of him. He is the overlord of East Blue, a giant with more than 30 ships in Crick, and the leader of the pirate group. Even if the young man wanted to hear this sentence again, he knew what had happened. Suddenly sluggish on the spot. Of course he knew the name of Captain Creek. Just like Panda said, the leader of the giant pirate regiment with more than 30 pirate boats. In East Blue, it is a giant that no one can contend. No one can deny this. And according to Panda, the other party's purpose here is actually him. The young man felt a little guilty when he thought of this. At this moment, the door of the yard was opened with a kick. And it danced to pieces. 235 East Blue Overlord Creek. 235 East Blue Overlord Creek. Pand, you damn fellow, how many times have I said it? Don't just take anything from me, or do you think your life is hard enough? The entire yard became precarious because of the opponent's foot. But fortunately at this time, Panda knew that he should not be able to escape, so he walked out from the front door. On the front is a group of Admiral under Krieg headed by Krieg. Coupled with those fellows of Crick, it is full of momentum. There are a total of 50 or 60 people. There are Ghostakin and several cadres of Krieg nearby. The look in Panda's eyes was a little horrible. It can be seen that the guy in front of him is extremely afraid of these powerful men under Krieg. The moment Panda saw Krieg, she was already so scared that she was about to kneel to the ground. Captain Crick, these things are really something I really want to get, but since you have found them here, then I will dedicate these things to you again. His voice became weaker and weaker, and finally Rorik raised his foot and stepped directly on his face. It stepped on the ground and let out a miserable scream. Ah, it hurts, my face. Captain Crick, I was wrong, I know I shouldn't steal your things, I just want you not to kill me, let me do anything. However, Crick did not take his words seriously. He looked at Panda, who was already kneeling on the ground, and said disdainfully, why? What use are you doing to me now? Except for a dog's life, what value do you think you have? Panda's face changed drastically because the other party was right. Right now, he can dedicate this life to the other side. Nothing. But life must be kept, even if it is alive like a dog. I am willing to do anything, as long as Captain Crick is willing to let go of my dog's life, you can let me do anything. A Jin, the ghost man next to him, put away the purple gold hammer. She whispered to Crick, from my point of view, the captain, why not let these two guys perform that mission? Maybe there will be surprises, anyway, even if it fails, the lives of the two of them are gone. When Crick heard the ghost agent's words, his eyebrows were instantly overjoyed. He was worried that the previous task could not be completed. According to his previous calculations, if nothing happens, there will definitely be a large number of teams passing by in Luo 630J town. At that time, as long as you can find opportunities, find the right thing from that group of teams. At that time, he will be able to make up for his previous losses. More likely, take this opportunity to set foot on the Grand Line. Panda didn't know what the Ghostakin and Crick were discussing. But he at least understands a little bit. That is, I won't die for the time being. Until then, Crick turned and looked at Panda, smiling. You said you want to live, right? Yes, 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 Lord Crick, I want to live, please give me this opportunity, let me do anything. Crick smiled and nodded, in that case, call the little guy who works with you and do something for me. If this matter can be done successfully, I will not only spare the lives of you two, but also give you a cadre. Panda can also be regarded as an old man, and I don't know how long he has been in this sea. Of course, he would not simply think that Crick would show kindness and really give himself a position of cadre. He was very clear before, why Crick would be willing to let himself survive. There must be one thing I want to do by myself. But he has no reason to refuse. Hirano was sitting on the roof. If he hides his breath, it is impossible for these guys to find out. But right now, both Hirano himself and others are very interested in one thing. That's exactly what Creek wants. What are Panda and York going to do? If Feng Youhui guessed right, this matter must have something to do with the heavenly gold escorted to the Tianu people. This heavenly gold will be sent to the Holy Land Mariajoy. This is certainly true, but is there anything else that follows heavenly gold? That's hard to say. Since Krieg is the so-called overlord of East Blue according to what they said, of course it is definitely not the case in Hirano. But at the moment, he doesn't care about these. The key question is, what kind of surprise can this guy bring to himself? Now there is hope of survival, whether it is Panda or the Yoko who is still hiding in the house. It is bound to seize this BCFD opportunity. They came to the front of Creek, after showing respect. Don't use these virtual ones, I just need to tell you two what you should do next. Remember, tomorrow, there will be a fleet of ships outside the port of Logue Town. Don't worry about what that fleet is doing, and don't ask too much. I only want to tell you that there will be a fleet on that fleet. Something, I want you two to help me steal it. Panda trembled in his heart, he thought of a very bad result. Is it? Before he could say anything, Crick interrupted his thoughts. Yes, it's what you think. That team is the team that contributed heavenly gold to celestial dragons. I want you to steal something from that team's ship. This time even Yoko, a young man who had never had a life, finally knew what he had defeated. He was terrified, he kept looking at Panda next to him. But the other party was already desperate. I don't know how to deal with this matter. He can only growl constantly in his heart. TND, don't look at me, I don't know what to do. Of course, Crick would not pay attention to the entanglement and contradiction between the two of them. Right now, this matter is extremely important to him. If it is not convenient for someone in your own hands to do it. Of course it will not be handed over to these two little miscellaneous hairs. But then again, if these two guys can really hit the ship by mistake. And help yourself find things. It's not too important. When the time comes, think of a way and just kill these two guys. After all, once the news of his involvement in this matter leaks out, even if Marine has been bribed by himself, I'm afraid I won't let him go easily. After all, the escort ship that snatched the heavenly gold can be big or small. It's not easy to talk about when it gets bigger. After all, everyone knows what the consequences of robbery and the escort of the ship will be. That is a punishment more severe than death. But right now, there is no other choice for Panda and York. At least they can't refuse now. At the very least, wait until a solution is found. Find a way to escape from the clutches. Now once he refuses, Captain Creek will never let them go. After all, this matter can be big or small, once the other party thinks that this news cannot be leaked at will. Then the two of them must be dead. Crick watched Panda's expression change and couldn't help but laugh. Miscellaneous, I can tell you very clearly, if you just want to agree with me temporarily in your heart. Then find an opportunity to betray me. If you don't do this, you will know what punishment you will face. I think you know better than me. So I suggest that you don't do this. Of course, if you really intend to do this, I won't say anything. Then you can only look forward to the rest of your life, and don't be met by me in East Blue. Although the tone of Crick's speech was indifferent. But Panda and York were so scared that their crotches were wet. They knew that the head of Crick had a notoriously violent temper. If you are really half-hearted by the other party right now, then the two of them must be dead. Thinking of this, the two knelt down and begged each other for mercy. Captain Creek, we absolutely dare not lie to you, just issue the order, and I will do what you say. Everyone knows that East Blue is the territory of Captain Crick. Unless we don't want to get involved in East Blue in the future, how can we dare to deceive you? Crick smiled and nodded, but his smile was extremely grim. He leaned down and looked at the two people who were kneeling on the ground with a disdainful snort. If I leave this to you, then do it according to my requirements. If you can't do it, then you can't do it. If I know that you two dare to violate the promise of me, don't do it. Then I will let you know what despair is. Panda and Yoke were already scared to their faces. When they heard Krieg's words, they nodded quickly, saying something they would never dare to. At this time, they really didn't even have that thought. The horror of John Creek has long been known to all the pirates within East Blue. It is said that even the Marine General's base stationed in East Blue has his people. He has already bought a lot of people who dare to be hostile to him and don't listen to him. What's more, it's not good to say that, now Crick has told them both of this matter. Naturally, they will not let them go easily, if this matter leaks out of the wind. The first object of suspicion is the two of them. Well, it doesn't make sense to continue to scare you two here, as long as you do what I said, rest assured, there will be no problems. After some orders, Crick finally revealed the purpose of his coming. As long as the time comes to keep up with that ship, I will find a way to get you on board. Then, find what I want based on the drawings I gave you. That is a box, don't try to see what is inside the box. It will bring you a murderous disaster. The two nodded repeatedly and said that they did not dare. Crick handed over a drawing. The two were trembling in their hands. Right now, there is not much time left for them. According to Crick's intelligence, the ship had finished talking about the gold in the surrounding countries. They will pass by Logue Town tomorrow afternoon and will be stationed for rest and replenishment. At that time they will have the opportunity to board that ship. But having said that, it's simple to say. But it is not so easy to do. The guarding force of the passenger ship escorting the gold in the sky, just thinking about it, will surely be very tight. With the two of them, even if they were lucky enough to be able to board the ship of gold in the sky, it is hard to say whether there is a chance to sneak into it. The reason why Crick believed the two of them so much was actually a lucky idea. Those things are important to her. But it is only as an accessory to show strength and status in New World. Even if it doesn't, it's nothing. Right now, these two ghosts are helping themselves to accomplish this. For him, it is not a big deal. Naturally, you can do whatever you want. After another charge, he gave these two guys 3 million berry. Ask them to find the sales vault of Logue Town and have a little wine. For two of them, who are very likely to die in the next mission, this is already a blessing. It wasn't until Creek walked away that York and Panda let out a long sigh. The two people were already sitting on the ground and underneath them, it was already yellow. Obviously, they have all urinated their pants. For this matter, the fear is extreme. The two of them didn't think about it, they just had this idea in their minds before. I want to go to that ship and steal what the two of them have been coveting for a long time. And take this opportunity to make a prominence in the future sea and leave a reputation. But no one thought that the two of them would be caught by Captain Krieg first. And the other party asked him to complete an impossible task by himself. Thinking of all the recent events, Yoko couldn't help feeling sad and crying subconsciously. Panda next to him was a little irritated by his crying and roared. Coward, what's there to cry? Since they don't treat us as human beings, then we will do it once. Let them see and see. Isn't it just robbing the ship of gold in the sky, what's the big deal? Feng Youhui sat on the roof and smacked secretly. This kid is kind of bloody. Unexpectedly, when it seems that when people are pushed to the limit and despair, they will indeed burst out some qualities that they have never possessed before. At the moment, it seems that the plan to board the ship of heavenly gold is likely to have caused the two guys to collapse. 3 million Baileys were in front of them, but they still couldn't calm down. Forget it, it seems that I can't hide it anyway. In this case, let's take a good look, and then we will let our fate be fate. I only hope that the ship that escorted the gold from the sky will never show up. Although the two said so, they all knew it in their hearts. This is simply impossible. There will never be any accidents with the ship escorting the gold from the sky. This is the common sense that everyone knows. For them now, if you do what Crick said, there may be a way to survive. Although the hope is also very slim, but if it is close to Crick's suggestion or request, then the two of them will have to die on the spot. This kind of multiple choice question can be done by a normal person. 236 Planning for Heavenly Gold. 236 Planning for Heavenly Gold. John Creek is the captain overlord who can dominate the East Blue Waters. I have to say that he is really good at it. The previous coercion and temptation had already caused Panda and York to lose the confidence to resist. For him right now, these two cowards can be used by him. Become to help him sneak into the ship that escorted the gold to the sky. Steal the thing he has been on Guy's ship for a long time. Then come back. If the plan goes well, then he will be able to cross it in one step. Get rid of the so-called East Blue Overlord. Truly become a great pirate who can be famous all over the world. Of course, he also knew that this matter would not go so smoothly. Now that he had asked the two cowards to do it, he was naturally prepared for the possibility of losing. Right now, whether it is himself or this group of crew members, they are all waiting for the arrival of the golden ship in the sky. According to their intelligence, it took nearly 10 million Bailey to buy information before. If nothing else, we will escort the golden ship to the sky tomorrow afternoon. It will stop at East Blue's Logue Town. Boss, if the two Scar 3 can really help you steal that thing this time, then we can dominate East Blue. Several cadres and John Creek were drinking excitedly at their permanent residence at the same time. For them, it has been good news recently. Since Logue Town has become a place of pilgrimage for generations of pirates, they all like to come. They even made a lot of money through these. As long as they can get what they want from that ship, they can further enter the new world. Dominate the entire Grand Line. Creek couldn't help but raised his head and gave a long laugh when he heard the words of his cadres. Ha ha ha, who said no? The current situation is as far as I can see, if it is not unexpected, we will know the news tomorrow afternoon. That's right, you have to be prepared. Once the message of that ship comes, let those two guys get ready in time. We are always ready to let them board the ship, and we are always paying attention to their whereabouts and movements. Although I believe that the two guys have no guts to resist me, but if people are really pressed, what will they do? It's not too easy to say. Several cadres nodded in agreement, and then passed on Crick's order. I have to say that the pirate group in Creek is indeed large enough. There are as many as 10 large pirate ships alone, not to mention a fleet of other small pirate ships. It can indeed be regarded as East Blue. The current plan is also very simple. Get what you want on the ship that escorted the gold to the sky. Then use his accumulation in East Blue over the years to decisively attack the Grand Line. At that time, he must be able to achieve an extremely high position in this world that he could not imagine before. I was fantasizing that the kobold army next to him was the ghost of Jin but came forward. Boss, I always feel that this matter is still a little uneasy, how about it? Advertisement. I will be involved in the next plan. If there are any accidents, we can explain to the Marine Department. Even if something happens to me, it will have nothing to do with you. Crick drank a pot of wine, but waved his hand and said, Agent, you are a little bit unreasonable about this. Now that these plans are proceeding step by step, where can there be any surprises? Okay, go to the bar. If something really happens, we can send out collectively to solve it. The top priority now is to keep an eye on those two guys, and tell me if you have any accidents. Although he heard his boss answer this way, he couldn't relax easily. He knows that Crick is particularly outspoken, and sometimes he doesn't care about these things. However, he must think enough. After Panda and York walked out of the ruined house in despair, they held a huge sum of 3 million coins in their hands but didn't know where to go. This is probably the helplessness when facing the extremes of life. The two of them also knew what John Creek asked them to do. In fact, again, this is not much different from their previous plan. In the beginning, the idea of the two of them was to find what they wanted from the ship that carried heavenly gold. And then change his own destiny all the time. But right now, not only is my plan not proceeding as usual, he even became a tool man of John Creek. I have to say, it's really funny. However, no one can defy Captain John Creek's order. No one can refuse. For the two of them right now, how can they complete this task perfectly? This is the most important thing. Otherwise, what should we do? Captain John Creek is fierce, I know, he almost killed Zophie because of that last time. If he hadn't just finished drinking and was in a good mood at the time, I am afraid that Zuofei would have a foot of grass on his grave now. We absolutely can't think about getting rid of that guy. If we don't follow his orders, the two of us will definitely die miserably. Of course Panda knew that there was no need to ask a customer to remind them. There is only one thing he is worried about. This task is simply an impossible task. What else is there to think about? Take the money and go to happy. I will never complete this task anyway. That's the ship that escorted the gold to the sky. If the two of us appeared within 500 meters of that ship, we would be shot dead. Instead of being so scared, it is better to take a handful of shaoju before, and look forward to tomorrow's creek being wiped out for the whole army. A flash of despair flashed in Yoko's eyes when he heard the words of his comrades, self-defeating and self-defeating. He knows that since the other party can say such things, it proves that there is really no solution. If there were no accidents, the two of them would have no way to escape. Two people strolled to a dark street in Logue Town. Here is the famous sales vault in Logue Town. After all, for these pirates, money is one-day count. In most cases, there is no such thing. It is for this reason that the pirates have no detailed concept of money. It has become the norm to have wine now and be drunk now. Besides, Logue Town is the dream place where the Grand Line started. It is not only the birthplace of One Piece Roger, but also the place where Roger One Piece died. This kind of dual identity is simply fascinating. Therefore, for these pirates, Logue Town can always give them some better yearning and longing. In the evening, Panda and York came to the famous Gold Grotto in Logue Town. Here, beauties, wine, gambling. There are even blood drinking killing performances, there are all kinds of them. Ultimate chaos. If there is not enough money for junior officers in Logue Town, no one has enough power to open such a restaurant here. If it was before, whether it was Bender or York, they would walk far away when they saw this kind of place. Not because they don't like it, but because their strength does not allow it. The two of them don't have the spare money to do these things. But now, it's different. With the 3 million pele from Captain Krieg, the two of them turned into rich men. The most beautiful boy tonight. The few turtles at the door had already seen through the identities and details of the two. Hastily stepped forward, welcoming the two of them in. Ha ha ha, welcome two of you to visit our store tonight, there must be something happy, I will arrange for them, the most perfect service. York's heart was sad. Happy, I am happy you ghost. But he did not show it. He knew that for these people, it was nothing more than a living. What's more, he was also a person who had fallen into the world, and he didn't know how to spend the life that was very likely to be less than one day. It was obvious to Panda that Bjork looked a lot better off. He patted the latter on the back. Let's go, I've said it all, now I have wine and now I am drunk, why do you want to do so much? After speaking, he took out a handful of gold coins and threw them into the sky. Tonight, call all the best ladies to me. He has already thought about it. Tonight, he will fight all night. Even if you can't get up tomorrow, John Creek's men grabbed him from the bed. Also die without regret. It's always better, when the time comes to grab the things on the Celestial Dragon's heavenly golden ship, it's good to be killed by random guns. The whole night was full of fascinating and bohemian atmosphere. For the two of them, this is the most important thing to do before dying. York was also infected by the emotions of his old man. No more frowns. A lot of gold coins were also thrown out, and the two of them went up to the second floor unhurriedly. When he just arrived in a private room on the second floor, the tortoise hugged and left. Talking to invite a few popular girls. Please ask for flowers. In the darkness, two hands clamped the throats of the two of them. The sound is very cold, very low, and very soft. It's also very simple. I ask one sentence, and you answer one sentence. The two nodded again, and the minds that had been eroded by the intoxication just now became much more sober. Where is the map that Crick gave you? Take it out, and tell me all about the ship that escorted the gold to the sky. The person here is not someone else, it is Hirayuya. Panda and York naturally did not dare to hide. The other party can do things that threaten one's life silently. It is so powerful that it has already exceeded their imagination. Where would they dare to speak indiscriminately? At the moment, I can only explain all the things I know. After listening to what the two said, there was a pleasing voice coming from outside the door. Asked whether to bring the girl in now, after being signaled by Hirano. Panda pretended to be fierce and shouted out, FK off, Lousy is not in the mood now. Then he pitifully begged Peng Youhui for mercy. My lord, you treat us as a fart, let us go. Because we don't want to participate in Crick's plan, the two of us want to come here to have a drunk chunchao. It doesn't matter if you die tomorrow, we will tell you everything you want to know, and there is this picture, you can take it away if you want. Hirano's reaction to the two people is very interesting, I don't know why. He didn't have the thought of killing them, but was interested in the Captain Creek. 0. Very well, looking at you for the sake of cooperation, answer my last question, you can survive. The two nodded again, as if pounding garlic. Tell me, where is John Creek's usual station? Leaving the dark street softly. Peng Youhui didn't know Panda and York, was he still in the mood to continue searching for flowers and asking Lu? After getting the specific position of John Creek, he left there. Yes, his target is the East Blue Overlord. Because he found that the news from these two guys was incomplete. If nothing else, the East Blue Overlord who delivered the source of the news. John Creek should have all the sources of information, in that case. Instead of wasting time, it is better to find the other party directly. At this time, John Creek was still feasting on his subordinates and drinking fine wine. He was thinking about tomorrow when the two little guys will bring him good news. At this time, there were some news from the younger brothers. Immediately made Creek annoyed, he stopped the phone worm that was picking up the news next to him, and yelled at the phone. What are you talking about? Those two guys ran to Fireworks Lane and used the money Lousy gave them to find flowers and ask Lu, do you want to live? The ghost mannequin next to him thought about it and smiled. Captain, in my opinion, it doesn't have to be this way. Since the two of them are still in the mood to go to such a place, it should be enough to prove that they have made up their minds to help the group leader to complete the task. John Creek was stunned. How do I say this? The ghost agent waved his hand, and some irrelevant subordinates left the scene. Only a few cadres remained. He said in a low voice, Captain. You think so? If the two of them really don't plan to help you with this matter, what should you think now? Crick said without hesitation. Of course it should be a runaway. Lousy just gave them 3 million Baileys. It shouldn't be a problem to use the money to leave Logue Town, but I don't think they dare to. Ah Jin nodded. Captain, since they dare not leave Logue Town, there is only one way left for them. It is to help the group leader to do things tomorrow, and now they have gone to Fireworks Lane to spend the money, then it proves that they have already thought about it tomorrow. It's possible that they won't go back. Doesn't this prove their determination? John Creek nodded happily when Akin said so. Ha ha ha, I understand when you say that. Now it seems that I misunderstood these two guys. If this is the case, let them have a good time. For tomorrow afternoon's affairs, don't delay it for me, just remember to stare at them to death. He took the wine in his hand and was about to take a swig. Suddenly he felt a chill coming from his neck, he jumped up abruptly, and the alcohol was all gone. He knows that someone has sneaked into their base camp. 237, the Crick Pirates, all destroyed. 237, every thief group in the Sea of Creek is destroyed. Who? Come out quickly. Be careful, I killed you in hiding, and when I find you, you should regret it. However, no one answered him. In the silent and empty room, there was only a slight breeze howling and the heavy breathing of the other subordinates. They saw their boss Captain Crick so nervous. Then of course they themselves dare not delay. All of them glanced around nervously. I am afraid that my actions are too big and cause serious consequences. All of a sudden, I was a little surprised. What the hell is going on? Did someone break in? But why didn't we find anything? As the backbone of the Creek Pirates, they can run wild in this East Blue waters. But right now, since someone can sneak into their base without their attention. This is simply impossible. However, looking at the nervous expression on Crick's face, it is clear that it is not that simple. After hearing a conversation with his subordinates, Crick couldn't help but curse an idiot secretly. But right now, all his mental power was used to sense the aura around him. If it weren't for what Grand Line had known about New World very clearly and well, Creek would never be so procrastinated. Think that the Creek Sea of your own home can be vertical and horizontal on this sea. Because that is simply impossible. He knows whether it is himself or the rest. None of them have personally experienced the cruelty of Grand Line. Not to mention the New World in the second half. Therefore, no matter what degree of strong people appear, they can accept it. 63-0. But after he roared several times, there was still no sound. Just when he thought his induction was wrong, a light laughter rang out. Resounded throughout the base of the Creek pirate group. One after another unique echoes were formed in the empty space. Ha ha ha, it turns out that the Creek pirates are just a bunch of cowards. The source of this sound cannot be heard at all, let alone men, women, and children. There seems to be no trace of emotion. Crick felt unusually scared. He knew that the other party could sneak into the base of their Crick pirate group silently. It is enough to prove the strong strength of the other party. It has already exceeded his expectations and imagination. But at the moment, the Creek Pirates group should have taken up enough preparation and strength. Why can the other party come in so easily? And with the horror reputation of the Creek Pirates in East Blue. No matter what kind of idea the other party is making. It shouldn't continue to hide. I'll give you one last chance, show me up quickly. Standing in front of me, John Creek, the captain of my great Creek Pirates, can spare you a dog, otherwise. He hadn't finished speaking, only felt the sound of thunder in his ears burst. The whole person plopped and knelt on the ground. Bright red blood began to flow from both ears. It looks terrifying. The members of Crick's staff next to him were all frightened. Creek can become the leader among them, naturally the strongest one. Whether it is equipment or personal strength, can dominate the entire Creek Pirates group. Otherwise, he won't be the captain. But what happened just now? They dare not ask aloud. Because they can't confirm who the target of that person in the dark is. If the opponent is targeting the captain of the Crick Sea group, then they can still have peace with each other. But what if the other party wants to kill the quartet in the base of this Creek pirate group without leaving a living? Then they are in danger. Therefore, the rest of the pirate group members are more nervous than each other. The legs of a timid person began to tremble. This period of time, although it may be said to be very short. It's only a short 10 seconds, but it feels like centuries have passed to these people. Unusually difficult. Fear. Low air pressure. One after another, they smashed over. They feel as if they are in that kind of unprovoked purgatory. For the pain and screams that Crick endured, they can't feel it at all. This kind of ultimate depression finally made some people unable to bear the cry of collapse. Who the hell is it? Come out quickly. I can't stand it anymore. Let's kill me, it will be a bit easier. Who is hiding in the dark? If you want to target the Creek group in this way, you can come out quickly. Several members of the pirate group choked out the dazzling long knives around their waists, and began to swing them towards the surroundings. Before their eyes, there seemed to be one after another demons. They seemed to be fighting people. The long knife in his hand was shining brightly, and at this time it finally began to mess up. Ah, who is it? Who killed me with a knife? Scream. Screams, one after another, resounded in the base of the Krieg pirate group. No one would have thought that the dignified horror of the Krieg pirates in the entire East Blue Waters. One day it will fall to such a point, and it will perish because of cannibalism. I don't know how long it took for this cannibalism caused by the environment. In the entire Krieg Sea group, only Krieg himself and a few cadres were left. Nothing is spared. All died by their own swords. Some people even got blinded by their partner before dying. He also desperately digged out a pair of eyes of the opponent with his hands, and swallowed it into his abdomen abruptly. At this moment, the entire base of the Klikva group is already a purgatory on Earth. The horrible blood is rendering the entire base. The surviving Krieg and some cadres of the Ghost Agent were already numb. They are already scared. They have never seen such a scene. Obviously they are their own partners, but even they tried their best to dissuade them just now. Even with life threatening, there is still no way to stop those subordinates who are killing each other. Until the end, they could only watch the subordinates fall one by one under the sword of their companions. Ah Jin is still the more sensible one. At this moment, he also knelt on the ground with a face full of horror. Shaking all over, he was speechless and trembling. Who is it, sacred or not? What kind of devil is it? I beg you to come out quickly. Why do you want to destroy our Krieg pirates, and who have we offended? He set his sights on his leader, John Krieg, the leader of the pirates. But the latter is more crazy than him. The latter was already bleeding from Chichao, and he threw the big weapon in his hand by him. Although the golden battle clothes were on his body, he still couldn't protect his extremely weak soul. Captain, you are saying something. What is this? Why is this happening? However, Krieg couldn't respond to him at all, because at this moment, a figure appeared in Krieg's eyes. It was a smiling young man, and the other smile didn't seem to have the slightest offensive power. But when Krieg looked in his eyes, he let out a horrified cry. It turned out to be you. It must be you. It must be you all. Why? Why do you do this kind of thing? The person who came here is of course Hirano. He didn't care about Krieg's yelling. Instead, he turned and looked at the Ghost Jin on the side. I know, you are the only one who is still awake now. Go, bring me that thing, if that's the case. You can have a chance to save your lives, otherwise you have seen my method just now. Ah Jin was stunned, then his face changed drastically. Only then did he finally know what his teammates and partners died because of. He finally knew that it turned out that the other party had only killed almost the entire pirate group for the purpose of the blueprint and the message scroll. Are you for those things? Hirano smiled and nodded. Of course, how about I kill people? But I know you want to ask me why I killed them. If you have to give you a reason, then they are too noisy. It's noisy. Akin felt that he could not accept this explanation. But he also knew that the other party was not explaining to himself at all. It's notifying him. Of course he knew what this young man wanted. The specific news about celestial dragons escorting Tianshengzhen through Log Town. This time, they spent 10 million Bailey to get it from the marine leader of Roger. I didn't carefully tell Panda the details of this news before. On the one hand, I was worried that the guy would leak the news. On the other hand, it is the news that Akin considered must be told to the other party at the last minute. Then directly start the plan, so as to ensure that everything goes smoothly. If not, at this time, his thoughts have been interrupted. The person who interrupted him was not someone else, it was Hirano. If you think that with your little cleverness, you can convince me to give up plundering your lives, just try. Choose between life and that piece of information, I think it should be easy. The ghost agent was taken aback. On the one hand, it was because the thoughts in my heart were peeped through by the other party. On the other hand, he finally understood. The purpose of the young man in front of him was indeed that thing. Next to him, Captain Krieg, who has slowly recovered from his madness. Looking at the group of friends around him with a gray face. Only a few cadres are left of them who are dead. Originally, today should be the day for the entire Krieg Pirates group to celebrate their achievements. If it goes well tomorrow, I got something. They can go to New World. But just now, my own heroic dream, the dream of the big secret treasure turned into ashes in an instant. No longer exists. No one can understand the dignified East Blue Overlord John Krieg at this moment. What are you thinking about? It wasn't until Ah Jin reminded him that Krieg woke up suddenly. The look in his Feng Youhui's eyes was like looking at a wild beast. What on earth did you do this for? I think my words are clear enough. Repeating one thing and question will make people feel very annoying. But since you have asked, then I will say it again. It's very simple. Tell me the specific news and intelligence about Celestial Dragon's transportation team, and then you will have a chance to survive. Otherwise, just like the crew of your subordinates, they die on the eve of going to New World. Although I don't know how profound your dreams are for the big secret treasure, I think no matter who you are, as long as you are a pirate, you won't give up this thing easily. Listening to the other party lightly speaking out his purpose. Even Krieg has seen countless winds and waves. Even if he pretends to be enough to stand above the clouds, overlooking the entire pirate world. At least it can overlook the entire East Blue Waters. However, the shock given to him by the young man in front of him remained the same. Let her not let go for a long time. He thought for a while, and sat down on the ground decadently. With a plop, the whole person seemed to be soft, and he just sat down paralyzed. Krieg's eyes were blank. It seems that I have truly lost my dream. It turns out you really did it for that thing. But you killed all my crew just for this thing, you really are a devil. Hirano shook his head and corrected. 5.3. Remind you, their death is their own choice, I just let them see the appearance of those who died in their hands. And all they can do is bear the mental impact of those people on them, nothing more. If you insist that I am responsible for their deaths, well, I have a showdown and I will admit it. Well, I have talked enough nonsense. I don't know what is going on today. I have so much energy to tell you this is useless. Hand in the information and drawings. Although I have already got some from Panda, it is still too sloppy. It can be seen that you didn't give the detailed information drawings to that guy. A cruel flash flashed in Crick's eyes. It turned out that Panda had betrayed me. Of course Hirano knew what he was thinking and didn't care. Instead, he looked at the ghost Jin next to him. The latter thought that Hirano was going to make a move, and quickly took out a drawing and scroll from his arms. Respectfully handed it to Hirano with both hands. Please don't kill Captain Creek, these are the specific news we got from Marine Base for 10 million Bailey. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the fleet that escorted Tianshengjian to the Holy Land Mariajoy will pass by and stop at Logue Town. All we know is this. I have to say that Agent the Ghost is very smart. It deserves to be known as the think tank of the Krieg pirates. Before Ping Yuya's attack, he had already handed the drawing to him. Hirano nodded, opened the drawing and looked at it. That's it, there is a CP organization accompanying it, which is really great. Chapter 235, Plan. Advertisement. 238 Plan. By looking at that topographic map, Hirano finally knew the next goal. There was not only what he wanted on that boat. Heavenly gold is still the thing that Captain Creek regards as a treasure. And the strong of the CP organization. They are the most critical thing that they need to pay attention to. As long as you can grasp this opportunity. So mediocrity can definitely get what you want. According to his previous guess, this ship has a strong escort organized by CP. Then it proves that things on this ship must not be simple. If it's just the Heavenly Gold, relying on the name of the Heavenly Gold and part of Marine's Guard. Enough now, it seems that this matter is not that simple. At least Hirano can be sure for now. Your own plan should be complete. And he certainly won't gain too little. What I got from Krikna was a road map and an information book. It is complete enough, and this kind of thing has never been easily solved. Then at this moment, Hirayuya has formulated a complete plan to rob the golden transport ship 12 in the sky. There was a familiar voice in his ear. Congratulations to the host for activating the current mission to rob the heavenly gold and completing the mission to challenge celestial dragons. The reward system points are 3,000. Quote. Hirano is strange, how can this voice sound at this time? He suddenly reacted. That's right, it must be that the activation method of this system in Pirate World was misunderstood by myself. If nothing happens, in Pirate World, if you want to activate this system, you must participate in a major event. For the current Hirano, he robbed the sky of gold once. Obviously this is such a big event. It is precisely because he participated in such a big event. That's why the system was activated for the first time. Thinking of this, he couldn't help but shook his head with a wry smile. System, what should I say to you, system? Is it just in time or in time? He could only smile, and then clicked on the system panel to check his current status. Advertisement. The task being performed is called Robbery of Heaven and Gold, provoking celestial dragons. If it is an ordinary person, seeing the name of this system would be frightening and untenable. Because for any normal person in the pirate world, he would not be willing to agree to such a thing. Robbing celestial dragons is hitting celestial dragons in the face of Kai Guago. Not to mention the further provocation celestial dragons. Such conditions. This is clearly driving yourself to death. I have never heard of this kind of thing. Let alone do it. This is simply impossible. Loot celestial dragons heavenly gold, for the average person in the pirate world. It is simply impossible. But now for Hirano, he is not only going to do this thing. And he must do it reasonably. Because now, not only does he want to do this, but also because of the most critical point in the whole process. The task assigned to him by the system has been semi-compulsively for him to do. He has no way to refuse. What's more, he himself is unwilling to do this from the will. After clearly comprehending the thoughts in his heart, Hirano did not have a psychological burden even to do such things. According to the information, the ship transporting heavenly gold will stop at the port of Logue Town for a little more than half a day. From tomorrow afternoon to the early morning of the day after tomorrow, this time will be completely used as an activity time for Hirano. And give him this time. Enough. Presumably no matter who it is, he will not deny it. Throughout the process, the extent to which Crick and others worked hard on this matter. But not surprisingly, they are all making others' wedding dresses at the end. It brings the greatest benefit to Hirano. In other words, it is in the whole plan right now. The most critical link is that Hirano himself has already thought about all the next content. Dealing with Krieg and his subordinate cadres. Hirano did not do justice, or continued to let him go. A very compromise method was chosen. Let these guys go to Thunder and find the way for themselves. Advertisement. Since they had planned to want Panda before, help them go to the ship to steal something. After Crick heard that Hirano did not intend to kill them. Simply grateful will fall. He knelt on the ground with a plop and bowed his head towards Hirano. The words spoken between the words are all agitated. Thank you, sir, for spare our life. Don't worry, Sir, we will never leak the news of adults. Moreover, as long as people speak up, no matter what it is, we don't know how to do upstream and downstream pots. Unambiguous. Krieg is worried about the reactions of other people and will continue to anger Feng Youhui. Let several other people follow oneself and verbally towards each other. And Hirano is not a heinous person. For this kind of thing, he never paid attention to it. What's more, right now, he needs these people to help him find Zhao Yibole. After all, even if the credibility of this news can reach more than 90%. But still there is still no way to make people believe it all. It is precisely because of this that Hirayuya feels that these people are useful. I saw the other person kneeling on the ground and kowtowing. Mediocre also shook his head. If you don't use 630 to do things for me, I will never treat you badly. Well, my request is very simple, go find the way. Make sure for me, there really is gold in the sky on that boat. And the treasure you mentioned, by the way, what exactly do you want? Hearing this question, whether it was Crick or the Ghostakin and several others, their expressions changed at the same time. It seems inconvenient to answer. It wasn't until Feng Youhui snorted coldly that the few of them started in awe-inspiring voice, and slowly said, Master Kai, we heard that there is a devil fruit on the ship, so this moved our minds. Devil fruit. Hirano knew what it was. A well-deserved gem in the world of pirates. Some people see it as a curse of the devil. Some people see it as a powerful secret. However, the ordinary devil fruit will never appear on the ship that escorts the heavenly gold. It proves that this devil fruit is definitely not simple. Looking at Crick, the latter was already in a cold sweat. My lord, we don't know exactly what this devil fruit looks like. If nothing else, as far as we know, the situation mentioned in the intelligence should be Brother Zhao. Devil fruit is an op fruit thing. Feng Youhui smiled faintly, an inexplicable smile appeared on his face. Chapter 236. Op fruit. Advertisement. Open black lens bracket 239 close black lens bracket op fruit. Op fruit. He never thought that he would encounter such a thing here. He certainly knows the power of op fruit. According to rumors, op fruit has been developed to ultimate, which can make people live forever. Immortality, this curse or blessing in ancient legends. Can make everyone crazy. This is the ultimate temptation that no one can refuse. Even if it was Hirano himself, it came from another world, and he was still fascinated by it. There is no doubt that op fruit has appeared in this situation. He added another reason to go to the ship that escorted the sky to make waves. Now that I have this opportunity, why should I conceal it? Well, for the sake of seeing that you have given me such a useful information. I won't let you go to die on that ship. Remember, no matter what you do in the future, you must think about the consequences. Crick nodded as if pounding garlic, he knelt on the ground. He banged his head. This should be what he should do, and the strong is respected in the laws of pirate world. The strong can decide everything about the weak. The emergence of Hirano Yono has already allowed Crick to see this sea. There will be another fishy storm. At least East Blue was originally called the most peaceful sea area. From then on there will be no more peace. This is the only thought in Crick's mind. Crick was curious about Hirano's reaction. But I dare not go into it. He understood in his heart the existence of Hirano himself. It's scary enough. And to a certain extent, mediocrity is also his own indifferent way of dealing with everything. Advertisement. Make him unable to understand. Whether it is a pirate or a marine in the world of pirates. There is naturally a fanatical state for this kind of things. But Hirano did not. That's why Crick feared him. In addition, all of his subordinates died for an inexplicable reason at that time. Hirano himself finally realized this. After allowing Crick and his survivors to find ways to develop their influence. Hirano left the base of the Crick pirates. Next, he will go alone to the place where the ship is anchored. Before you reach the Logue town, the ship that takes you from the sky to gold. In less than half a day, he didn't need to prepare anything. At this moment, there was a very luxurious ship in the sea not far from Logue town. There are several ships around, escorting this ship at the same time. It looks quite unusual. Not only is there a bright flag on it, the pattern drawn on the flag is exactly the logo of the world government. Besides, on the front deck of the ship, there is also a white dragon head-like thing. There is no doubt that this is the symbol of celestial dragons in the pirate world. No matter who it is, most people see this ship. The first reaction is to avoid. There used to be many people who did not know, because within the scope of the ship's vision, they did not make the corresponding state of respect. He was bombarded by the other party and died in the sea. This is not an exception. On the deck of the ship, there were conversations with several young people dressed in general clothes and sailing suits. There are males and females among them. They have something in common, that is, they make no secret of their business to the surrounding guards. Hey, Del Saint, why do we have to be protected by this group of people's waste? To be able to collect this heavenly gold mission, obviously we have been doing this all the time, do we need to be afraid of anything? The young man who was replaced by Dorshung smiled and nodded. Dorshung, you absolutely don't need to care about this. At the moment, the entire world is ruled by our farmers. No matter who it is, no one can get out of our rule. What's more, the golden capital of heaven is within the scope of the world government. What all countries should turn over to us, you cannot care about this, and there is one more thing that you absolutely don't need to doubt is me. The dominance of celestial dragons in the entire world does not need to be doubted at all. As for what you see as just the one who fears that any accident will damage the majesty of our celestial dragons, you don't need to do that. Care, if you really care very much, you can let this group of untouchables leave our sight. Of course, in the event of any accident, Advertisement. We still have to rush over to protect us as soon as possible. After the young man explained, the older celestial dragons next to him nodded. Very satisfied, immediately waved his hand. The bodyguards of the CP organization around were expressionless, and then quickly left. However, although they have not appeared in Tiananmen's field of vision, but their duty is still to protect the safety of these people. May not be able to leave to farther places. This is what they should do, and they should do it even if they are desperate for their lives. Seeing those untouchables in the eyes of celestial dragons finally left their field of vision. These days slaves are even more unscrupulous. A few people suddenly talked about it not long ago. The ordinary ship circling in front of their ship offended them. There was a burst of laughter. Quote. Ha 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 ha, you said this is that pariah. I warned him a long time ago, but he even dared to drive the boat to the front of our boat. Is he blind? That's why I ordered the main sword to directly solve the problem with artillery. If it wasn't for that ship was completely sunk into the sea by our shelling, I would lift the pariah and hang it for at least 10 days. The celestial dragons nearby nodded repeatedly. Obviously, he agrees with his views and judgments. For them, the fate of the untouchables is never fate. Even their beloved slaves are inferior to them. Those people are only worthy of being a real labor force for them to drive, just like the newly built Wanghao Sea crossing bridge that has not been built for more than a century. No one can calculate how many dead men that big ship filled in that bridge. But the only thing that can be confirmed is that this ship was built under the orders of natural unmanned people. Oh, by the way, you heard that there seems to be an organization called the Revolutionary Army that is making a lot of trouble recently. When they came out of Snow Country before, they told a few of us. I hope that the world government can send more troops to protect and help them, because at this point, the king of that small country has also handed in some 20% of the heavenly gold. Several others nodded and agreed. Yes, I also remember such a thing. It seems that after returning to the Holy Land Mariajoy this time, the issue of targeting the Revolutionary Army should be fully put on the agenda, otherwise it will make others think that our celestial dragons are not there. It's very uncomfortable. Chapter 237. Hirano's Plan. Advertisement. 241. Hirano's Plan. After Master Hirano got the news about celestial dragons sending heavenly gold, tight deployment has already begun. And Captain Krieg finally realized after the strong momentum of Hirano that he had endured before. He is not the opponent of that young man at all. It is precisely because of this that can make him change his mind. Stop clinging to this, instead seize the opportunity. Try to be in East Blue as soon as possible, with Rogue State as the center. Radiate outward and accumulate your own power and strength. Because Hirano has promised him. As soon as there is any trouble that cannot be solved, notify him. He can completely help him to solve it. It is for this reason that Crick not only feels uncomfortable because of his own losses. On the contrary, it is happier and happier. In his opinion, he was just playing around in East Blue. But now there is a guarantee that it is not only able to get out of East Blue. There is even a chance to enter the Grand Line. Give it a try in New World. Let the New World, which has never appeared in her world, bloom his name. Wouldn't it be better? It is precisely because of this that Crick will be even more excited after sending off Hirano. It was also because of this that he finally realized that his previous life was completely meaningless. If it weren't for Hirano's appearance, I am afraid that even he himself would not have enough opportunities to do these things. With the Ghost Agent and the remaining cadres, Crick started his own path of erosion and growth in East Blue. These are all things to do, so I won't show them for the time being. It was late at night, and it was inside the Marine base in Logue Town. Several Marines are holding an emergency meeting. Recently, you all put your hands and feet clean and winked. You must know that tomorrow afternoon, the ship sending the gold from the sky will pass through Logue Town. At that time, there will be not only our senior officers, but also the high-level celestial dragons and the CP organization. The disgusting degree of the CP organization, you guys to be clearer than I am, if I remember well, the major before I came should be because of the investigation organized by CP. Throw it into the big prison. The other people all bowed their heads, not daring to say anything. After all, right now, unless they don't want this honor and glory and benefits, then they can only follow the rules of the game. For them, there are people on the ship that is about to arrive in the sky that they cannot afford to provoke. Whether it is a Marine officer of many levels above them, a CP organization, or even a fascinating person, they are all existences that they can't afford. It is precisely because of this that both they and the big figures on the escort ship from heaven and today are extremely concerned about this matter. By the way, have there been any accidents in Logue Town recently? Or something is wrong in your opinion? You must seize this opportunity to rectify it. I don't hope that when the ship arrives tomorrow, my superiors tell me that he has found something unsatisfactory in Logue Town. At that time, not only I can't escape the responsibility, but the skin on your body will also have to if you pick it up for me, don't even think about using the skin of your body to make money in the future. That is simply a delusion. Several people wanted to explain, but they were interrupted by the major waved his hand. The other party's face was calm and firm, and he didn't want to listen to their explanation at all. And this sentence is very clear and clear. In all subsequent actions, we must strictly follow the highest specifications to cooperate with the ship escorting the heavenly gold. Logue Town will be the second chance to be famous across the continent after One Piece Roger. That is to show your prominence in this action of heavenly gold. Taking this opportunity, several of them may be promoted if they do this thing well. And the major will get the most benefit. That's why he asked the other people to guard their hands and clean their hands and feet. You must not miss the real good things because of the small interests in front of you. These people have always been like this. If their plan is damaged because of their uncleanness, the major will use his hand to kill a few disobedient guys. This is not bad either. In the hearts of several other people, they all knew the strong Yamato of the officer in front of them. Advertisement. This is true for everyone. And who is escorting the ship that is escorting the gold in the sky right now? They are not actually qualified to be able to see it. What they fear most is that once the other party really stays in Logue Town for a short time, they find that Logue Town has something that makes them dissatisfied. What's more, what they say casually may cause them to suffer casualties. Major Kai, the current situation in Logue Town is already the master, and we have accelerated the intensity of our patrol. If any accidents can be dealt with as soon as possible, and the group of pirates who had been entrenched in Logue Town before, we have already expelled them. The major turned around strangely to look at the reporting subordinates. He asked, "Where is the Captain Creed who has a good relationship with you now? I remember that he has the title of the Overlord of East Blue in East Blue, although I don't know who gave him the shit. Overlord, he doesn't even have a 10 million bounty here. Talk about the Overlord of the fart. Tell him, either honestly treat me as a tortoise, or you can cut off your head and take it to me to receive the bounty. Come to Lousy and give him a whole 1,000. Juan Bailey." The marine officer was frightened out of his body. What is the situation with the major master? He is not very clear. The only thing he can be sure of is that the other party must already have a lot of information on the master. Once he was disobedient, the major had 10,000 ways to kill himself. When he thought of this, his heart suddenly became more vicious. He had made up his mind if Captain Creed didn't listen to himself. If you don't do it according to the schedule, then he will have to do his best. Even if it is for one's own benefit, this ally must be eliminated if it is not a last resort. Although Creed has given him a lot of benefits as an ally. But once encountered the real situation. Don't talk about this kind of alliance. It's not a reliable thing at all. After solving the pirate forces in Logue Town, Major Marine stood up. The other subordinates didn't dare to do it anymore and stood up and saluted each other at the same time. Very well, you guys should already know what we will face next. I don't need to talk about things in the sky anymore. 12 hours from now on in Naruto Town, I want to give him peace. Do you understand what I mean? Several other people saluted at the same time and answered yes. As soon as they started to work under their own hands, for them, it is estimated that they would never have this kind of opportunity to meet a big person in their lives. And now the order the major gave them is clear, but you only need to do what the major said. Then there is a chance to win the stability of the entire Logue Town and leave a good impression on those big people by the way. The night is getting deeper. But Hirayuya came to the intelligence, the port of Logue Town, alone. This seems to be a very ordinary place. It has been expected by the officer stationed at Marine before. The port will temporarily receive the Tianshengzhen escort fleet tomorrow. Therefore, no other ordinary ships are allowed to enter or leave. It was precisely because of this that Hirano came here and did not see any other ships. He has an idea. I want to do this well outside the port of Logue Town. After all, if it involves Logue Town, there will definitely be other people involved in BCFD. At that time, if there are any results he doesn't want, it will be difficult to deal with. It is for this reason that Hirayuya rushed to the port position all the way in time. According to the information, the ship will arrive here in 10 hours. Then, if it is calculated according to the route, there is no accident. When Hirano followed the opponent's route to chase the past, the two were bound to meet in an unfamiliar sea. It's just that Feng Youhui, he is not sure that once he goes out to sea, is it possible to successfully meet a ship that gives heavenly gold? If this is not certain, in the end, just in case it is nothing. That would be a bit embarrassing. Thinking of this, he opened the system panel. I checked my own situation, and there is only one task in progress. Advertisement. It is marked with information about Hirano's upcoming tasks. That is after robbing the heavenly gold, and then taking the task of provoking celestial dragons. He can get a lot of system points. He can take this opportunity to perfect his system power, although he doesn't know what it will do. However, based on his previous experience, he has developed a template for the captain from the very beginning. Although until now, there is still no chance to reach 100%. It's just that there has been considerable progress in combat experience. Coupled with his enlightenment in that store, his first goal is to obtain a knife that can satisfy him. At least the one that was dusted in that shop was forged, and it hasn't been an owner's knife for nearly 200 years. It fits his temperament and heart. With this as the goal, what should be done? With this as a goal, he felt that he should do something. And this time out of the harbor of Logue Town, heading to the sea area at that location was one thing he had to do. He remembered clearly that when he asked about the captain's subject lesson, the other party also confessed that this drawing was bought from a marine officer stationed in Logue Town. 10 million Baileys were spent at the time. Since this drawing was obtained from Marine's officer, it shouldn't be a surprise. Hirano must be able to get specific information about escorting the golden ship to the sky from the other party. As long as he can master the news and route of the other party's market, he will naturally not have any surprises. But with his current status, even if he knew where Marine was stationed, there is no way to enter it. If powerful destruction is used, this will cause a large number of Marines to hunt him as their target. That would be contrary to the original intention of his original plan. But then again, if you want to complete the task of the system as soon as possible, there is only one way to go. For him, he can only seize this opportunity. There will not necessarily be such an opportunity in the future. Just do it. He turned and escaped into the night, heading towards the Marine base stationed in Logue Town. Marine base, the more prominent this kind of thing is, the better. For pirates, it is a deterrent. For civilians, it is a symbol of protection, which is normal. Just under a high wall outside the Marine base, several children are discussing something. Dobby, can you see clearly? Has the boss really been caught in Marine base? If we climb up this set of walls, they will definitely be awakened. At that time, our soldiers will lead Marine base away in two ways. The officers and soldiers stationed at the door, you take the opportunity to rush in through the door to find the boss. A thinner boy nodded. His face was a little worried and restless. Okay, I understand. I must find the old admiral and tell him the news, but I am not sure that I can rescue the boss. Even if I can unlock the chain on it, there must be more officers and soldiers inside the base. Surprisingly, after hearing his words, another stronger little boy shook his head. You don't have to worry about this. I've heard it already, and the information is very clear. Marine must have a big action tonight. If nothing happens, Marine must have someone coming over, so they will organize people to greet them. This is our best opportunity. Once you attract them away from the gate, you and Lao Lu will have. Rush in toward the gate, and then you must find a chance to find the boss's position, and then send a signal. The children looked at each other and cheered each other up. The expression in his eyes suddenly became firmer. At this moment, they were preparing to make a difference, trying to attract several Marine soldiers stationed at the door to leave the top of their heads. Suddenly a black shadow passed by. Lao-san, did you feel that something flew past just now? What nonsense. You have a ghost in your heart. Hurry up and give me a guard. Once the two dumb guys at the door are attracted by me, you quickly send a signal and we will run, and then let him rush in ahead of the two of them. This is the first step of the plan, give me a little bit of caution. As soon as he finished speaking, Dobby next to him was stunned. Said tremblingly no. The third child is not joking at all, look at something happening in Marine base. At this time, the strongest child suddenly raised his head. The fire is blazing into the sky in Marine base, where is it still just like nothing? A few people were stupid at once, and they didn't know what to do on the spot. At this time, the sound of an enemy police siren sounded inside the Marine base. Chapter 238. Break into Marine base. Advertisement. 241. Break into Marine base. No one expected it, it was in the middle of the night. Someone actually broke into Marine base, this is an extreme provocation to Marine. It is a major challenge to Logue Town, a place awarded as a new model of Marine. Since the One Piece King Roger was executed in Logue Town in the past few years, there have been countless people coming here for pilgrimage. They all hope that they can have a good harvest after going out to sea, but no matter it is a pirate or anyone else, they have no guts to break into the Marine base. No matter who it is, they have to admit that at the moment Marine is still the real overlord of this sea. Even the big pirates of Grand Line and New World have to admit this. For them, the real world hegemon is still the Marines who master the entire world. They uphold the name of justice and hunt pirates from all over the sea. Regardless of whether the people in the lower ranks are corrupt or chaotic and dark, the master of pirates is known as Marine. They are still endowed with the name of upholding justice, even the smallest evil, they will still be punished. Obviously, this is true for everyone. After all, no matter who it is, there is no way to deny the power of Marine. The strong inside the entire Marine system are like forests. For the pirates, it is a dimensionality reduction blow. In addition, after the original pirate King Roger was executed, even if he uttered such rhetoric before he died, it caused more people to go to the sea to find his own treasure. But the only change in hygiene is that the pirate is still a thief after all. In the eyes of ordinary civilians, they are an unquiet factor. They are the source of the harm to this society. And Marine is to sanction their existence, and justice is always on their backs. And just tonight, the Marine base in Logue Town was attacked. Speaking of this kind of thing, I'm afraid it will make people laugh and panic. Because no one dares to take responsibility for it. If this matter goes back to the Marine headquarters, I am afraid that Marine Admiral will take care of it as soon as possible. After all, the status of Logue Town is too important. However, these are all later words. At the moment, the fire inside the entire Marine base is blazing, and the sound of sand washing is getting louder and louder. Everyone can tell that a battle is in full swing inside Marine base. Where did a few children have seen such a quiet place? They have already run out of sight, and it is not someone else who broke into the Marine base, it is Hirano. According to his plan, he had planned to go out to sea to find the crow from the sky, remembering that the ship and waiting again might as well be shot directly. He thought it very clearly that it looked like the chart of that ship's voyage so that it could be cut off. If there is really a strong CP organization on that ship, then he has to forge a escort ship for Heavenly Gold. It is bound to make a lot of noise. If the Logue Town is no longer peaceful, it is not his intention, although he will not show mercy to the world to act like a virgin. But this will affect the progress of his plan. But it mainly makes him unhappy. That's why he made up his mind to go out to sea personally to meet the ship that escorted the gold to the sky. To find a specific sailing chart of a ship, you must come to Marine's base. Before that, he had found Crick and asked carefully who he got the intelligence map from. My lord, we really don't know who sold us the information. We just know that he is an officer in Marine base who is blindly not low, and he only passed the information to us through the middleman. One part was divided into 3 and handed over to Panda, just for him to help us get into the ship that escorted the gold from the sky and stole it. Op fruit. Thinking back to Crick's answer to his own question just now, Hirano began to think. Now that Crick has been able to clarify that the opponent's position should not be low, but he can be sure. The person who established the intelligence will definitely not be the leader of Marine base. After all, as the leader of Marine base, as a major, although his rank is not high. But in places like Logue Town, you can cover the sky with one hand. There is no need for him to sell the news of the heavenly gold escort ship for 10 million Bailey. What's more, even if this news is sold, very few people will actually take the risk to rob the escort ship of the heavenly gold, because it represents a dead end. After excluding the top leader, it is not difficult to choose among the few remaining people. Advertisement. The status of those who can reach the specific news of the escort of Tianshengzhen will not be too low. In addition to the major of Marine base, there are only a few other lieutenant junior grade. Next, Hirano, there was only one thing left. Just find these mid-ranks one by one, and then inquire about the specific situation. But for some reason he had some accidents during the process of entering Marine base. After coming to Pirate World, he has not really used his power with real swords and guns. In the previous battle with the Crick pirates, it was only a little bit of power released. When he was in Naruto World, he was able to use his abilities by loading character templates. The system will wake up after coming to Pirate World. If you want to activate the system, you must complete the activation task. So he didn't know exactly what his power system looked like, so he was less than 3 kilometers away from Marine base. He jumped up and flew straight into the walls of Marine base. And the kids just saw the dark shadow under the wall of Marine base. It was the sight of Hirano flying past. After he plunged into the Marine base, it was like a meteorite falling from the sky directly destroying the tree hole. The tall house caused a flame to skyrocket. Such a big movement can be seen by the deaf as long as the officers and soldiers stationed at Marine base are not blind. So the sirens sounded for the first time, and countless people swarmed out from the Marine base. In an instant, Hirano fell from the sky surrounded by it. But Feng Youhui's face was calm, and his heart felt slander. This jerk playing system really can't give yourself any benefits. After the activation, if he still can't satisfy himself, he has to find a way to substitute. The most important thing right now is to find those comforters. That's right, he never thought about whether the marine officers and soldiers around him would not harm him. Because he doesn't need to think about this kind of problem at all. After a glance, simply judge the rank. It was found that among the few people around, there were no decent marine officers and soldiers at all. He used his spiritual consciousness as if he were observation Hoki's ability and quickly unfolded. He started searching in the surrounding houses, and he saw a few people with stronger auras. Rather than seeing what is seen, it is better to say it is sensed. He ignored these feet and disappeared in place. He rushed towards the houses. Hurry up and stop him. He actually rushed towards Ensign's house, and must not hurt the major. Marine is stationed inside the base of Logue Town, and there are about 3,000 Marines. The number of 3,000 Marine officers is also a lot less than 8. Consoling the 4 people, plus 2 captains and a major. This is a very strict pyramid configuration. The houses of the few officers and soldiers did not seem to contain anything. As long as there are no tasks in the field, they basically live together. So everyone's first reaction was that Hirano fell from the sky, and came here to assassinate several Marine base officers. And his first target was the nearest ensign. Who would have thought that Hirano would ignore that name at all? Instead, he headed for the innermost house with a slightly larger movement. The whole person is like an arrow from Lizan. Everyone only felt a burst of sound. It is impossible to capture the figure of mediocrity at all. In an instant. After a while, Hirano was already at the door of a slightly larger house. Inside the house is the chief executive officer of this marine base, a major. At this time, in the major's room, there are several other captains and lieutenant junior grade. Advertisement. The topic they are holding a meeting here is exactly about the handling of tomorrow's ship escorting the gold to the sky temporarily anchored in Logue Town. Of course they heard the thunder-like sound that Gango fell from the sky, but they didn't have time to react at all. Snap. He glared forward, beside the door of the lounge that had been pushed aside. Several marine officers who were sitting around him, who were slightly lower than him, also drew the knives from their waists at the same time. Please ask for flowers. Or sword. Some directly raised the gun in their hand and pointed it at Hirano who entered the room. Who are you who dare to break into marine base without authorization? Do you know this is a capital crime? Hirano didn't care about the major's verbal threats at all, but took it step by step. Come to the front. Finally there is a lieutenant junior grade, and I can't stand it anymore. Pull out the gun to shoot and shoot. Get out of here. While shooting, he roared at another lieutenant junior grade next to him. As if to cooperate with him, he pulled out a long knife from his waist and rushed towards Hirano. Then the next moment there was a flower in front of him, and Ping Youhui, who was still slowly advancing just now, was gone. The major's eyes moved. His eyes were gloomy for an instant. Who are you? What is the purpose of coming to Marine Base? I have warned you that Marine Base must not be insulted. This represents the highest honor of being stationed in Logetown Marine. No matter who you are, I will make you regret what you did today. However, his words fell in the eyes of Hirano. It's like a joke. He waved his hand. Don't engage in these useless things. I have only one purpose here today, to give me the sailing route of the ship that escorted the sky to gold. As for the few of you, I am not interested and too lazy to kill. After all, First and Marine have nothing to do. Deep hatred. 0. Hearing his words, the major couldn't keep his breath anymore. The knife in his hand burst out with a burst of brilliance, and it was obvious that this guy was not a simple character. Because the other party actually uses hockey. Hirano was very curious about things like hockey. His system has not been activated yet, so he doesn't know what the pirate world corresponding to his energy system looks like. You can only try to use it. So after he cursed the system again in his heart, he talked about the next point and shot it in an instant. Then he collided with the major. He was already weak enough. He has even completely concentrated the energy in his body. According to his estimation, even 1% of the power of the shot just now was useless. However, the moment the two met, the major flew out. It was smashed on a yellow wooden table not far away, and it broke. The few people next to them were dumbfounded. They never thought that the other party would shoot directly. According to their estimation, since mediocrity has also come to Marine's base, the purpose is definitely to want some benefits. No matter what it is, it can be discussed. Yes, no one would have thought that this guy would hurt someone by opening his mouth, and he hurt so badly. Boy, who are you? Seeing that the major was lightly touched by Hirano, he had already fallen far away, and the others who were present fainted on the spot, and his eyes were suddenly scared to the extreme. The tone of voice between them began to tremble a bit. I have to say that the evaluation of the excellent just now seemed to be very casual, and the shock that it brought to them is beyond comparison and expression. No matter who has experienced this kind of thing, it will not be calm. What's more, no matter whether it is mediocre or present, everyone else is not aware of the strength and depth of each other's strengths, and they do not know that they are mediocre after this collision. Since his own strength is so powerful, the other marine officers have already turned the look of harmless humans and animals in front of them. The guy is listed as the most dangerous level. If you don't come over, just stand there. You can say your conditions and requirements. We try our best to meet. You are now the major has been injured by you. Presumably no one in the entire marine base can match you. As long as you are not Asian and want to be single, we can all sit down and talk about killing the innocent. A captain's alliance stood up. His face changed, and he was afraid of his previous mediocre shots. It was obvious that he was very good at camping other marine officers. He stopped it. Ping Yu also has a good eye and a close look at his mouth and nose. With just such a sentence, he already knows that the guy in front of him should be the person who sold the intelligence map to Crick. It turned out to be you. Okay, I just found the righteous. Come with me, your intelligence map is more than 10 million and it is not good. As soon as he said this, your face changed a little, and the few people next to you suddenly roared out, it's you. Chapter 239, Marine Base Mutation. Advertisement. 242, Marine Base Mutation. The bang bang sounded. This is nothing else. Instead, the sound of the mouth popped out. Obviously, the captain officer known as the Big Bai was already angry. After he was exposed to his own bad deeds and conspiracies. Killing on the spot, grabbed the gun from his waist. He stretched out his sinful hand to several colleagues and friends before him. Hirano stood by, looking at this guy with a smile on his face. Several subordinates did not stop him. They do not have this obligation at all, nor do they have this idea. The other officers who wanted to stop Dabai just now fell into a pool of blood in an instant. Except for the major who didn't know his life or death when he was in contact with Yuya. There is only one person standing there. In an instant, he was the only senior officer in the entire marine base. His face was calm and there was no change. Instead, he looked at Hirano. This lord, everyone is just making a living and mixing up a bite of food. Besides, even if I sell the news about the golden ship, how many people have the courage to do something with that ship? Really like you. It's the first time I've seen someone who wants to rob the ship in the sky. The other party's words were straightforward, thorough and explicit. At the moment he will be the reason why he would betray the news of the escort of the heavenly gold to the ship. Tell directly to Hirano. Then of course Hirano is not good to say anything. Besides, he has already said it before. As long as he can give himself the specific voyage chart of the ship that escorted the sky. He can't do anything. And he also did what he said, not the same as 630. Since descending from the sky to Marine Base, Hirano has not killed a single person. And that life and death Major Marine also wanted to test Hirano's strength, and he brought himself so much trouble. What is going on right now to be able to grasp this opportunity for people like Darby? Is the most important. She is more adept at speculation and camping, and she sees that Ping Youhui is extraordinary at a glance. The Marine Rear Admiral had a brief contact just now. One move made the opponent lose the ability to resist. Fainted on the spot, judging by such means and strength. Hirano is definitely not easy. And Captain Marine thought clearly. It is also a great opportunity for him to be able to follow such a person to do something big. So when he saw Hirano smiling and looking over, He also responded with a smile on his face. Don't be surprised, my lord, although I am in the marine base, you can see clearly that I am just a little captain. There is also a major and a big man on the scene. I don't have much means in space at all. Otherwise, I will not be humble enough to sell the news of the escort of the heavenly gold to earn a mere 10 million Baileys. Hirano smiled and listened, but after the other party finished speaking, he shook his head again and again. Then Marine hasn't moved in his heart yet, I don't know what Hirano means. Then he asked. What? Your lord doesn't believe what I'm saying. Hirano continued to laugh without saying a word. Aren't you kidding me, kid? You sold 10 million Baileys for one piece of information. Are you telling me that you only sold one piece of information? Dabai's face instantly became extremely ugly. He had always thought that the young man in front of him came to this place not for money. But now it seems that he guessed wrong. What on earth do you want, this lord? Please tell me directly, if I can hand it over, I will give it to you without hesitation. Hirano looked at this guy like a clown, showing off in front of him. She shook her head again and again. No, you still haven't figured out your own position, I told you already. Whether it's fighting or anything else, don't try to get into the sea or lie in front of me. The reason why I told you about 10 million Baileys is just to let you know that nothing can buy my heart and my eyes. Since you have killed a few other people, in order to make me feel loyal to me, then it happens to be wronged and indebted. In order to be worthy of the 10 million Bailey you took away, I will escort this time. Give me the specific quotation chart of the ship of heavenly gold. Without hesitation, Dobby pulled out a large-scale picture from his waist. It can be seen that he gave to Pan the silly old hat he gave to Captain Crick before. It is completely castrated. My lord, this is the complete voyage chart sent by the heavenly gold. As long as they have not changed in advance, there will be no mistakes. I swear by my life. Advertisement. This guy looks scornful, but he is full of breath when he speaks. It must be precisely for this reason. Only then has the opportunity to be able to achieve the upper position of Marine Base, otherwise it is impossible for this kind of thing to happen at all. Hirano nodded and spread out the map on the spot. The several dead Marine officers and soldiers beside him seemed to be non-existent in his eyes. Observe carefully the market chart he unfolded. The sailing route of the ship under pressure from the sky is clearly marked. Even how long it takes to stop in every place, there are such delicate things. He was a little curious. Darby was just the captain of a mere log town marine base. How could there be such a meticulous route to the streets and ships? And Tabi was also very witty to see the suspicion in Hirano's eyes. Then he explained. Of course it doesn't have to be the case, my life is wiped in your hands. The reason why I can get this thing, you must know it too. Hirano stunned and laughed. Yes, it must be true. If nothing else, this guy should have bought these things from someone else's hands. Let's talk about it. How much did you spend on this thing? Dobby smiled and shook his head. The adults looked at me high. I have never spent money to get this kind of thing, and this kind of thing is generally not available for money, so the idiot of Crick saw me take out the voyage chart of the ship that escorted the Sky Gold. At that time, I was not so excited. It's not good to say that. In fact, in Log Town and even East Blue over the years, he has become accustomed to being domineering. Crick thought he was a character, but we didn't bother to pay attention to him. There is a bounty of less than 20 million goods. I know, so I deliberately revealed to him the news of the escort of the heavenly gold, just to let him die. As if seeing Hirano's suspicious look, Dobby leaned down and said respectfully. But you can rest assured, my lord, this picture is completely real, and I assure you with my life and honor. Feng Youhui shook his head. This guy is really 1,000 people. But he could feel that the last sentence was true. Right now, he can't wait to transform his power into the power in the One Piece world that conquers hockey and the use of physical skills. Let him dream. He can't wait to have the means to have this world power system. Now, it is imperative to complete the system task and activate the system panel. So he is very anxious. Just like what you said, there are false and true, and the true and the false, and he can't take care of it. These are mainly about the transmission of the heavenly gold. The road map for this news is real. That's enough. Well, you don't need to swear these things with me. Since you admit that this picture is true, then I believe you will find me a warship. After hearing this, Dobby's face suddenly turned blue, which is not surprising. After all, the marine base in Log Town is too small, and there are only 3 regular warships. There are still some small-scale warships that are not useful. And these things are on record. If Tabi easily handed over a warship to Hirano to deal with it. After the matter was investigated, he would certainly not be able to escape the responsibility. Hirano was still hesitating when he saw this guy. Cannot help but his face became cold. You are not still hesitating whether you want to do it according to my requirements. I believe no one will wear this. You have killed so many of your colleagues. When that major wakes up, you will know the truth about everything, and I won't let you kill him. If this is the case, you still have a few ways to go. Dobby shook his head with a wry smile, as expected. He leaned down and knelt down to the mediocrity. Then please give me a way to survive, whether it is to become a pirate or stay in marine as an undercover agent, I am willing. Hirano said coldly. I don't hate smart people, what I hate is that someone is smart. Put away your careful thoughts. What are you going to do next? You didn't teach me, but you can stay in marine and use your own ingenuity to overcome this difficulty. As long as you are still alive when the time comes, you will be pleasantly surprised when I come back after I rob the escort ship of heavenly gold. Dabi knelt on the ground, and didn't dare to raise his head to look at Ping Yu. I don't know how long it took, he seemed to feel it. He was no longer there, so he straightened up slowly and let out a long breath. The whole person slumped on the ground, his back was already wet with cold sweat. He shook his head with a wry smile on his face. How can I not imagine that I will encounter this kind of thing one day? But I often walk by the river, how can I not wet my shoes? Right now, let him encounter this kind of thing in advance. It's not a bad thing. What is it that can satisfy Hirano's requirements? He stood up hard and scanned for a week. Advertisement. She has been shot to death by her former colleague. And the major who didn't know his life or death. He knew that there were not many choices left to him. At present, in order to achieve Hirano's purpose, no matter what the other party intends to let him do. But obviously, it is more useful for him to stay inside Marine. Darby's heart was cruel, and a look of decisiveness flashed across his face. She raised the gun in her right hand and placed it in her left hand. Load up, in one go. He fired a shot at a muscle above his right arm. Heartbroken pain, but he couldn't care about it anymore. He squatted down suddenly and threw the gun out of the guard's door. Then he shouted loudly, "Come on, we have been attacked." When Hirano suddenly appeared inside the Marine base, the Marine soldiers who guarded the base were afraid to move forward easily. Worried about being injured by Hirano. What's more, the other party went directly to the quarters of several Marine officers. Even if they have to pass, it will take a certain amount of time. Wait until they really rush over. Hirano had already finished the matter and left. At this time, a group of Marine soldiers heard a clear gunshot from the room. It's over there. Let's go over and see what happened. The one who was about to rush to the door of the room was less than 3 feet away. There was a rapid screaming sound from inside. This is the voice of Dabai. He directed and acted himself and shot himself with his own gun. He immediately lay on the ground, his face convulsed and pale. Let the blood flow on the right arm change half of his body without dealing with it. The shot he shot was very particular. It is not fatal, but it will lose too much blood. Make yourself look like you have been seriously injured. This is his purpose, he wants to stay inside Marine. That's all there is to it. Hirano didn't know that Darby had come up with such a tragic method. However, he believes that this guy can become a top player in Marine base at 5.3. And also large sums of black money. There must be his own way of survival, and he doesn't sympathize with these people. Of course, they won't be wiped out. One day, this kind of guy is bound to become a pawn in his own hands. By that time, today's encounter. It is bound to lay a good foundation for the future. Obviously, Dabi is also aware of this. But some of the things I said before are not all lies. For Hirano's Henkong appearance, the surprise in his heart is more than shock. He saw the emergence of a turning point in his life. Such a strong man who turned out to be born, whether it is to lead him to gallop on that sea. Still choose to let him continue to act as Marine. He is willing to make this more comfortable choice. Because he saw the glorious path that his life was about to change. Not to mention that Big Bai started his life again. After Hirayuya got the detailed route map of the Heavenly Gold escort, he took a warship upstream under the arrangement of Tabi. Follow the route map to find the escort ship of Tianshengjian that is about to arrive at Logetown for stationing. If nothing else, their two ships will meet in the East Blue Waters. After leaving the harbor of Logetown, Hirano was driving the warship. He encountered a problem, he didn't know the knowledge of sailing at all. After being called 3 times, the familiar mechanical voice came to mind. Hearing Hirano's question, the system was silent again. Chapter 240. Continue the mission. Advertisement. 243. Continue the mission. Enlighten host. This system will provide different services according to the requirements of host. Does the host need navigational knowledge? Hirano was going crazy. But there is nothing he can do. There were only less than 4 hours left before the ship escorting the gold from the sky. If there is no way to successfully rush outside the port of Logetown to arrange in advance, it is very likely that it will have an impact on your plan. Therefore, he can only do what the system says. After all, you must first drive out the warship you are coming from Marine base. Therefore, even in the face of the system like this, he could only endure patiently, nodding faintly in agreement. Yes, system, give me all the latest and most powerful sailing technology and knowledge, and I want to make this iron knot under my feet move. Okay, I received the order from the host. Loading the navigation knowledge module. Hirano saw a virtual plate in front of him. The percentage of nautical knowledge loading being loaded appears above. Soon, it came to 100%. For a moment, he just felt that his brain was filled with various navigational knowledge and the ability to drive the warship under his feet. It is precisely because of this that he finally has a way and a chance to do more things. After all, the only way to make this ship move. Only then did I have a chance to find the ship that escorted the gold to the sky. He had already figured it out before. If you want to find the ship escorting the sky gold, you must get specific information about the sky gold from the officers of the Marine base. This is why, he will directly abandon the set of system intelligence maps in the hands of Captain Creek. After the transfer, go directly to the Marine base to find the major. After all, looking for information directly from the source is better than looking for information in the middle. In this way, both the convenience and accuracy will be much higher. Of course he understands this truth. After loading the navigation knowledge and technology, Hirano can clearly feel it. Driving the warship in front of him is no longer a problem at all. Generally speaking, a warship or a pirate ship requires people from different positions to work together. Only then can it be opened perfectly. In other words, a warship needs at least 8 people to actually start. Whether it's a helmsman or a watchman, or Zhong Fan, the more the better. At least 5 talents are needed. Although the Sparrow is small, it has a complete configuration. But right now, only Feng Youhui was alone. But the system produced must be a fine product. The navigational knowledge he got from the system. It can still be perfectly used to drive the warship in front of you. So for the start of warships, Hirano naturally has no problems. Seeing that the time for the planned delivery of the heavenly gold is getting closer and closer, Hirano is no longer delayed. He controls the warship. Go upstream towards the route of travel on the plan map. Its purpose is to intercept the search ship that escorted the gold in the sky. Besides, nothing else. For others, there is not only a CP organization on the ship of Mr. Yang Tianshengjian. And there is marine, and even celestial dragons have several. Ordinary people certainly don't have the guts to rob this kind of ship. But Hirano is naturally not an ordinary person. She is now, in order to complete the task of activating the system, can do everything to extremes. After learning about Hirano's plans, Tabi was very excited. He had never seen such a crazy person in his life. Loot the ship that escorted the heavenly gold. No matter who sounds this kind of thing, it will feel incredible. But for some reason, he could tell from Hirano's body. The other party is not joking. After Hirano left, Dabi shot himself in the body. Advertisement. Fake the scene that was attacked at the same time. Anyway, he and the Major are the only survivors right now. The rest of the people have been killed by themselves, and no one else saw them. After that, he only needs to rely on his own 3-inch tongue to completely set aside his responsibilities. Besides, according to what Hirano said before, Big Bai must maintain his identity in Marine in order to be able to help Feng Youhui in the future. This point, although it is not certain whether it can be done. But I dare not gamble. He believes in Hirano's strong Yamato disposition. Will not give him too many opportunities. So they dare not gamble. As a mature Marine officer who is good at accepting bribes and black money, no matter who it is, he will never give up the opportunity to fight the autumn wind. But for a strong like Hirano, he has no choice. However, even so, he still did not give up what he had always insisted on. Therefore, I didn't think too much about Hirano's previous explanation. But he still knew that he had to follow the other party's orders. Otherwise, no matter what happens at that time, it will be unpredictable. So even if Hirano seems to have chosen the path most likely to die, Dabi still dare not gamble. He firmly believes that this mysterious guy will definitely appear in a special direction. Then he attacked himself fiercely. In order to avoid this kind of tragedy, in order to prevent the change of the good life that I have finally obtained. Therefore, the competition can only choose to listen to the words of Hirano. According to the arrangement of the other party, he continued to stay in Marine as the so-called undercover agent. It is also to be able to help Hirano one day. But on the other hand, he is also paying attention to the news from the sea all the time. Once Tianshengjian was robbed, he would be sure of what he should do next. And if the action to rob Tianshengjian fails, it will herald the death of Hirano. For him, it is also a good thing. With this thought, Dabi fainted. After waking up, things are no longer what he should worry about. But he believes that when he wakes up, there will be a better and more exciting news presented. Whether it is good or bad, it should help him make a more detailed choice. But at this time, it was on the sea about 100 kilometers away from Logue Town. The sailing speed of the ship, which is also gold in the sky, has slowed down. Because of the order of celestial dragons. The previous celestial dragons followed the army to various countries to collect the heavenly gold. For them, this was just a journey. The purpose of travel is naturally to enjoy. But then they found out that Zhao's trip was boring to death. It is not as refreshing as you can play with slaves at the Holy Mary Bridge, and you can't taste all kinds of food at will. They felt so boring, so it was in the early morning tonight. Several Tianu people are angry. So the ship that escorted the gold from the sky was moored here. Regarding their orders, whether it is the CP organization that nurses are in charge of escorting or the counterpart Marine, did not dare to resist. So the boat can only be stopped. After stopping, nothing changed for celestial dragons. They just found a way to vent. Damn it, why do these untouchables have to let me wait for them so long? After this batch of heavenly gold is transported back to the Holy Land Mariajoy, I must let them see and see the wrath of God. Also, I can agree to the plan you mentioned before, on behalf of our family's competition on the Holy Land Mariajoy. We will definitely be able to win. You and my two are bound to be invincible in the world together, you can rest assured of this. Another celestial dragons, lying on a soft chair, nodded. As if to show that he was different from the other party, he didn't shout loudly. It's a calm and graceful look. It can be seen to prove that celestial dragons is struggling to show their own differences. However, it did not drag out a Tachi after all. Some of the guards of the CP organization next to them did not dare to say anything at all. These celestial dragons are the supreme masters for them. If they dare to say bit by bit of dissatisfaction, Advertisement. It will definitely be sanctioned by the other party. By the way, if I remember correctly, there should be a few devil fruits on the boat. I am really boring. I went to find a few people to eat. I want to see what effects those devil fruits have. Several members of the CP organization heard the words of celestial dragons, and their faces were immediately embarrassed. These few times, devil fruit was originally more important than heavenly gold, and it was something to be sent to the Holy Land Mariajoy. The tasks they undertake are from 5 elders. But now the magistrate is not as good as the magistrate. These celestial dragons in front of him are undoubtedly bound to be angry because of their refusal. At this moment, several members of the CP organization showed color on their faces. A voice came from the cabin. Don't make any noise. We are going to the gathering point in Logue Town soon. The next stop we will go directly to Saint-Pierre Mariajoy. At that time, let those guys go to replenish some items, unless you still want to set foot on the so-called red line. Dirty land. The voice was extremely majestic, although the tone was slightly condemning. However, the celestial dragons nearby did not show any dissatisfaction after hearing this. On the contrary, there are some only promises, as if they dare not resist the other side. This situation is almost impossible. I have never seen celestial dragons. No one has ever seen celestial dragons. Even people of the same kind who are celestial dragons. They won't bow to each other at all. So this scene in front of me, if it is seen by others, it will definitely feel incredible. However, what is even more strange is that all the celestial dragons present are really indifferent to each other. Especially when the other party fell silent after saying those words. The rest of celestial dragons dare not say anything. Well, I admit that you are right. Anyway, after starting from Logue Town, the next stop is the holy place Mariajoy. I don't want to get out of bed and experience the place where these untouchables live. I'd better stay on the boat. Anyway, let those people help us bring the supplies up at that time. I have decided that I will never be willing to come out and visit you in this muddy water next time. I originally thought it would be a good thing to collect a bounty, and the result. The celestial dragons next to each other sighed at the same time and glanced at each other. All saw the helplessness in the other's eyes. This expression shouldn't have appeared on their faces, but this is how it appeared now. After the sound from the 630 side of the cabin disappeared, no matter who it was, he had already figured it out. The other party must have a higher status than the few Tien and others in front of him. When the time was approaching midnight, the ship escorting Tianshengzhen stopped. On the one hand it is for rest, on the other hand they are not very anxious. Although I have notified the marine station in Logue Town and told them that they will come to Logue Town in a few hours. Let them prepare for life, but for them. When will they arrive in Logue Town, isn't it their own decision? It is precisely because of this, because of the company of celestial dragons. Those in the CP organization felt very distressed about the escort mission of celestial dragons that celestial dragons participated in. Originally, according to their normal schedule, the rate of collecting heavenly gold in previous years was probably at least half faster than this year. In other words, now they should have sent the heavenly gold back to the holy place Mariajoy. Unexpectedly, I don't know why. This year, celestial dragons even asked to participate in activities and missions to collect heavenly gold. Therefore, on the one hand, they are responsible for supervising the collection of heavenly gold, and on the other hand, it is even more important. That is to protect the safety of celestial dragons. Once celestial dragons has any accident, then they are not far from death. The sea in the middle of the night was extremely calm. There is no wind at all. This is especially true for ships. Originally, they should not have much time to deal with these things. But for celestial dragons, there is only one source of what they do. That is interest and whether it is fun. And right now, this trip is out to participate in the activities of collecting heavenly gold. Let them feel a little bit of fun. But the most important point is that they want to see the way those untouchables fear themselves. But even so, they could not endure the fact that they were forced to persuade themselves to live and walk on the same land as the group of untouchables. Because of this incident, they had to end their planned journey ahead of time and let the ship sail directly back to the Holy Land Mariajoy. Of course, the premise is to temporarily stop in Logue Town. After all, they haven't had a few good meals during this period, which makes them very angry. By the way, is there any fun in Logue Town? If we want to get off the boat on a whim after we arrive, we can't go home empty-handed, right? Holy price comparison. With all due respect, we'd better not go to those untouchable circles. What if we get infected with something? Hearing the kindly persuasion from his companion, the celestial dragons named Biga smiled and shook his head. Chapter 241. Celestial Dragons Resolution. Hirano fell from the sky. Advertisement. 244. Celestial Dragons Resolution. Hirano fell from the sky. A few celestial dragons, naturally they are mindful of going to the place where the untouchables live. But right now, they are out of boredom. There is really no other fun. So I have to go this way. But then again, for them. Whether to choose to set foot on the red line. Not a very difficult choice. Finally, in the early morning of this day, the ship came to anchor. According to several celestial dragons, they asked the CP to organize those people to banish a small boat. Then let them ride in it. Just for convenience. However, these are only illustrative of a problem. That is that celestial dragons has never seen the fate of other untouchables, and it is truly regarded as a real fate. For them, the lives of these ordinary people, not even as good as some of their beloved slaves. However, He said that Hirano, who had mastered the navigational knowledge and skills, finally drove the warship towards celestial dragons. Near this ship escorting the gold from the sky. But celestial dragons is suddenly unknown. Hirano's original purpose was to stop the ship halfway. Then take all the heavenly gold and op fruit. For her, these things are not impossible to own. But now that celestial dragons are on that ship, there is bound to be a large number of guards. And according to what the Dabi said, there are at least the CP organization and the various masters of marine. Otherwise, celestial dragons will not leave the Holy Land Marikyo so easily. But these are nothing for Hirano. Although he is not clear about his own strength. But now in order to complete the task of activating the system. He had to. In other words, he didn't pay attention to these people at all. Driving this warship on the lonely and silent sea, it was already late at night. Can't see the way forward, but relying on the navigational knowledge and relevant knowledge that the system rewards him. He can clearly explain the sailing route on the sea. Plus the chart of the ship I got from Darby. He was able to easily explain the direction of the celestial dragon's ship that escorted the gold to the sky. But there is a premise. It is that their ship has not changed its direction at all. But whether this can be done is hard to say. For Hirano himself, he can only think of a way to do it. As the ship progressed, Hirano is driving this warship. Finally found a clue on the way forward. He can see clearly, no matter who it is, there is no way to think clearly about these things. If not, I don't know how many ships have been escorting the gold in the sky over the years. Then again, Hirano took on this task from the system. But it made him very likely to enter the world of pirates at first. It became the target of the pirate world. For him, naturally he does not want to see such a situation. But he had to. Because he has no other choice. At this time, he was on the ship that escorted the sky. Someone found something wrong through the watchtower. Report to Lord Celestial Dragons, we found a warship approaching. And it's not the warship in the plan, it's very likely that there is a problem. What? How could something like this happen? Investigate it quickly. By the way, make a call to Logue Town and ask what's going on. This ship has advanced networking equipment, so it is the warship of Feng Youhui. When there is still a long distance away from them. They have found out in advance. Seize this opportunity to make a call to the marine base in Logue Town. At this time, the person in the Logue Town marine base is not someone else, it is just a match. The former chief of marine base, the major, was seriously injured in the confrontation with Hirano. Still unconscious so far, but in descending order, the Dabi who is the highest official naturally becomes the highest authority. So the call went directly to his office. Hey, is it the marine base in Logue Town? We have something to ask. Dabi moved slightly in his heart, if nothing happened. This call should come from the ship that escorted the Sky Gold. He asked quietly. Advertisement. Yes, this is the marine base in Logue Town. Is there anything I need to ask? Hey, how do you talk to me? My side is the warship that escorted the gold to the sky, and now I found a warship approaching us quickly. According to our plan, there should be a short berth in Logue Town in a few hours to help me find out if this warship was sent by your side. Dabi's heart trembled. He did not expect that he had just handed over the warship to Hirano. This is directly exposed, but at the moment he has no other way, he can only find a way to pass it. Okay, I have received it. We don't have any specific records at the moment. I can check the specific situation for you. But since it is a warship, I believe there should be other tasks. Under normal circumstances, we will not send a warship out. As for being able to meet you on the same route, it should be that they are going to perform tasks in the waters other than East Blue, and I may not know it. Seizing this opportunity, I shook off all my responsibilities in a single brainstorm. He didn't want to take on this matter in the first place. Now that there is such an opportunity, of course he will not miss it. The person who made the call on the other side was not someone else. It was the members of several CP organizations on the ship that escorted Tian Shungjin to Logue Town. After inquiring about the detailed rules, they gave up on this matter. Originally for them, whether it was obeying Celestial Dragon's orders or something else. All just to cater to what Celestial Dragons said, they had to. But how do you do this now? That is not something they have to struggle and care about. After receiving the call, the members of the CP organization reported the results to their superiors. Then he ignored it. For these people right now, they are actually a little tired. How can you ensure that you reach the Holy Land Marikyo safely? This is not easy to say. After hearing the other party's phone call, Dabai let out a long sigh. He was very nervous just now. In case the lies told by yourself are seen through by the other party. Then his own life will not be guaranteed. Sacrificing one's life for the sake of Feng Youhui is naturally not the character of a rival. No matter what happens right now, he won't die easily. No matter what happens to Hirano in the future. He believed that this was his huge unprecedented opportunity. Celestial Dragons didn't care much about the news from Logue Town. For them, they have been used to being aloof for many years. And these years, with the changes of various situations. Celestial Dragons' accidents are getting smaller and smaller. In their view, they are the supreme existence. It is because of the descendants of the creator of this world and the creation god. This is what they should do and what they should want to use. There is no difference at all. To some extent, Celestial Dragons is indeed the most powerful privileged organ in the world. They can ignore the lives of ordinary people. You can even use the wealth of heavenly gold to build an unlimited bridge across the sea. And this cross-sea bridge has been built for hundreds of years, or it has never stopped for hundreds of years. I don't know how many generations have gone through, and it is still the case. It is for this reason that celestial dragons will be treated as a privileged class no matter what they do. No matter what, you will not be punished. Also taking this opportunity, celestial dragons has completely become a tumor-like existence in this world. As for the CP organization, one of their tasks is to protect the safety of celestial dragons. The members of these CP organizations present, whether they like it or not. But this is their responsibility and obligation. They have to. After inquiring about Logue Town, these people present are concealed in their hearts, and some people don't care much. Some people avoid causing trouble. However, everyone has a consensus that no one will come stupidly to rob the ship escorting the sky. Even came with a warship. It is also for this reason that the next series of changes have occurred. Celestial dragons didn't care much about the news from Logue Town. The CP organization and Marines guards naturally did not dare to bother. Everyone spent a few hours in peace. Just before dawn, a loud sound rang, awakening all celestial dragons who had already begun to fall asleep. What happened? Hurry up and show me. Quick, who is making the noise? I don't know if this is the ship that transports gold from the sky. Someone was surprised. Someone yelled. But for celestial dragons, they are more curious and excited. After so long, something different has finally happened. Advertisement. Since this time, the most they have heard on this ship is compliments. This kind of voice has made them feel extremely boring. And now has such an accident happened. It was an interesting start for them. But then again, someone dared to do something to the ship that carried the gold from the sky. This is something unprecedented in history. Even Fisher Tiger, who was audacious many years ago. It was nothing more than climbing up the horsepower bridge in the Holy Land with bare hands to free the slaves. The transportation of heavenly gold is extremely important for celestial dragons. Regardless of whether the other party has this opportunity. Anyone who has such an idea is damned. The ship that transports heavenly gold is a ship. It's a pair of fleets. Take the ship where celestial dragons live. Next to the main ship, 4 warships are equipped as frigates. This formation is not to say strong, but it definitely can't be considered weak. Coupled with the masters of marine and the guards of the CP organization, the general pirate group absolutely has no guts to head on. Not to mention, for celestial dragons, their identities are respected. Coupled with their always violent character. If anything happens, it will immediately attract admiral-level marines' highest combat power to help. So no one dared to make the idea of heavenly gold. This is the real reason. But now this police siren sounded. It declared that someone had begun to enter the range of the heavenly gold transport ship in the range of the attack. This is not normal. Quick, go and see what happened. If anyone really dared to rob the ship carrying the gold from the sky, just grab me and put it to death. Yes, that's right, I dared to fight the idea of heaven gold. This kind of guy is more than guilty, don't show mercy. As the situation changed, everyone on the ship was awakened. Several celestial dragons gathered together and sat in the best protected cabin. They were drinking tea, tasting food, and waiting for news. For them, this is just a hunting game. Someone even dared to think about the ships carrying gold from the sky. This is really fun to the extreme. The powerhouses of the CP organization and Marines guards are not as careless as the few of them. They all shoulder the responsibility of guarding the safety of these celestial dragons. Once there are any accidents, what awaits them is the most severe punishment. After all, celestial dragons is the god of this world. Plus the accident that happened not long ago. Let everyone at the same time play up the spirit of 120,000 points. In the CP organization, Wang Hao, there is a great swordsman with a black sword on his back. It can be seen that he should be regarded as the leader of this pair of CP organizations. He was not present at the time of the previous accident. So at this moment, the fleet with the CP organization as the main escort has become the core backbone of the people present. Divide me into 3 teams, and one team will go to the deck to check the situation. A team stayed at the door of the guard cabin to protect the safety of the adults, and the remaining team followed me out. I want to see if there is a brave guy who dares to hit the ship that transports gold from the sky. With the backbone, the members of these CP organizations will be much more convenient to act. Under the leadership of the great swordsman, a group of men, horses and soldiers divided into 3 paths and proceeded according to his instructions. Coming up with this burst of alarms and tension people. Naturally, it is Hirano. He was still worried about how his task could be completed before. Unexpectedly, I had just entered the range of that ship, and had not gotten too close to the ship. There was a sound of police sirens. This makes mediocrity also embarrassing and unexpected. But taking this opportunity, he finally didn't have to conceal his identity and whereabouts. Just rightly took the opponent. He watched that the boat was brightly lit and people passing by, so it was so lively. It seemed that all of this was caused by my own arrival. Can't help but be overjoyed. Hey, since you welcome me so, then I don't have to be embarrassed. Very good, so be it. Hirano made a long roar, and a little bit from the warship beneath him. Rushed straight to the warship opposite. Just listen to the bang. Hirano's figure fell. The warship that was smashed also shook. Chapter 242, Panicking Celestial Dragons. Advertisement. 245 Panicking Celestial Dragons. Hirano didn't think of it himself. His down the road will cause such serious consequences. But seriously, he didn't care too much. After all, he had already made a decision before. You have to follow this path to make it clear. There is just a more critical issue. It depends on what method he wants to use. Go and stop the ship that transports heavenly gold. What he thought was originally secretly sneak up to use their own identity and methods. After all, he was on a warship just now. As long as the other party can't afford to doubt, he will naturally be able to approach smoothly. At that time, you can use this shortcut to win the battle. And the ship that transports gold from the sky. But now it seems that this matter is not so simple. As soon as the warship he was driving approached, the opponent's ship suddenly erupted with violent sirens and whistle sound. Some people even warned themselves directly. Keep him away from the ship that transports the gold from the sky. It now appears that all of Hirano's previous thoughts have become a dream bubble. He couldn't stick to those anymore. Therefore, following him, there is only one way left for him. That is a positive breakthrough. Since you can't sneak in, then make a positive breakthrough. There is no other way. For myself right now, I want to make a big fuss on this ship that transports heavenly gold. Then, by the way, complete the activation task of the sensory system of the system. This is not impossible. This is because of the influence of this kind of thinking, which gave Hirano the qualified motivation to act. But the matter is now, he doesn't need to think too much. Although it is not clear what exactly his strength has reached. But he has not yet reached the point where he has no confidence in himself. Now that it has come to this point, there is nothing to worry too much about. Hirano put down his defenses. He put all his thoughts in front of his eyes. Since the ship carrying gold from the sky, the other party has spotted him. Then simply stop avoiding it. Therefore, he directly chose to jump on the opposite ship. Now, can the task be completed in accordance with the requirements of the system? Just look at this wave. But then again, if the sky gold escorted the ship, there is really an opponent worthy of Feng Youhui's shot. It's not impossible. On the contrary, this will increase a lot of fun. For him right now, this matter 630 loves to do it to the greatest extent. And then again, even if Feng Youhui is just a mind to complete the system activation task. After coming to Pirate World, his mentality is gradually changing. In the previous Naruto world, there are still some rules and regulations that need to be implemented and followed. There is the bondage of the village, the friendship of the partners, and so on. But there are no rules in the pirate world. Not to mention, the system bears the brunt of its own activation task. Since it is for him to take down the ship that transports heavenly gold. This is simply a wave of death. However, in the eyes of Hirano, this is also a good start. He was still worried before, how to achieve a better integration and contact with pirate world. Now the system gives this opportunity. Instead, let him give up that worry. In general, what kind of premise should the concrete result be preset? It is not easy to say, in other words. If you really follow Hirano's own ideas. This matter is not so easy. He had a similar experience before. When in Naruto world, use the template to load the strong characters of the past to fight. But the effect is not obvious. First time here, after arriving in pirate world. Relying on his previous accumulation, although he didn't know how much his strength was. But at least he can figure it out. It should not be considered a weak person. Hirano landed from the sky, after landing on the ship that escorted the gold from the sky. The entire warship shook violently. The 4 or 5 frigates nearby saw this scene. They were all shocked and hurriedly aimed their muzzle at this side. But then again, on this ship carrying heavenly gold. But celestial dragons are resting. They dare not think about the first shot. If no credit is given, he will be held accountable afterwards. Advertisement. That is really endless. Over the years, there have been so many cases and victims due to the collision with celestial dragons. No one wants to be this early bird who was shot to death. The situation has evolved into this now. So can it be carried out according to Hirano's previous plan? It is not very important. In other words, the chaos in it. Ping BCFD, Yono naturally has the ability to calm everything down. Even if he is now deeply trapped in an encirclement. There is a group of masters and experts in the CP organization next to the ring feeding. For him, it's nothing. Who are you? Get it to me quickly. If you dare to crash into the ship that transports the gold from the sky, it's just looking for death. Yes, kill him, don't be merciful, dare to run into celestial dragons, this guy is really too long. With roar after roar, the strong from the surrounding CP organization gathered around. No one dared to order the frigate next to fire. Because of that, it will lead to unforeseen consequences. Right now, once celestial dragons has anything life-threatening to life safety. No matter who it is, he will never get out of it easily. Besides, even if they can do better afterwards, they can do more. For them, this matter is also meaningless. No one can bear the consequences of colliding with celestial dragons. No one is willing to take it. It is precisely because of this that the action of besieging Feng Youhui has no meaning and effect at all. The strong CP organization guarding the celestial dragon's safety has never seen such a big deal. It directly collided with the ship that carried celestial dragons to transport the gold. This kind of behavior is not to say that it is seeking death. It's almost there. But then again, for them, it is precisely because of the existence of this kind of person. Only then gave them a chance to do meritorious service. If it weren't for this, I'm afraid they would not give each other a chance to fall straight. How can we make this opportunity more satisfactorily executed right now? It has become a question in the minds of the powerful CP organizations present. But then again, even if they are confident enough, it can protect the safety of celestial dragons, but celestial dragons themselves don't think so. No matter what level of danger an accidental injury occurs. For celestial dragons, it is a great opportunity to condemn them. Once this kind of thing happens, although celestial dragons will directly suffer the damage. However, afterwards, these strong CP organizations responsible for the security work could not easily break away from the scope of responsibility. We can even say, their responsibilities are more serious. After all, coming this time, go all the way, an action to collect heavenly gold in the world. Celestial dragons are responsible for their safety. Once there is any accident afterwards, this responsibility naturally falls on them. There is no way to argue this point, but then again, do they really need to take this responsibility? No one cares. Because once celestial dragons does any harm, even personal injuries, those will have extremely terrifying effects and future problems. No one can bear such consequences. At present, celestial dragons have organized themselves to protect themselves on the ship that transports heavenly gold. But even so, they still cannot easily relax their vigilance. Therefore, a group of CP organizations guard masters stared closely at Feng Youhui who fell from the sky. Never let this guy get out of his sight. Hirano felt the breath of the people around him surging. There was a sudden surge in his heart. He knows for these people here. Oneself belongs to the intruder, belongs to the outsider. However, these are not important. What he is full of joy now is the desire to fight. This ultimate desire filled his heart with an impulse. An impulse to fight for life and death with each other. He doesn't care what the consequences of this impulse are. Since coming to Pirate World, he felt a trace of depression. This kind of depression comes from the fact that one's own system is not activated. It also comes from the reason that he doesn't know much about this world. But now, he is going to experience it in person. It was for this reason that he felt a burst of comfort and excitement. He knew his opportunity was coming. Would like to come if it is not because the system has released this task. Hirano will not have the chance to be able to do this. It seems that he had misunderstood the system before. It now appears that the system was not without fault before. It's just for my own sake. At least for now, Hirano is very satisfied with the appearance of the system. Advertisement. Moreover, he knew very well in his heart the reason why the system let him do this task. On the one hand, the system can be activated to a great extent. Help him in the pirate world. On the other hand, it is a model that can completely adapt Hirano to the system. After all, he was in the Naruto world before, and now he is in the pirate world. A completely different worldview, of course, requires a different system model to do these things. With the landing of Hirano, the strong of the CP organization finally realized the arrival of the opportunity. Yes, for them, Hirano is definitely not a dangerous person. It's a huge credit. They have to seize this opportunity to perform well in front of the master of celestial dragons. Only in this way can they bring them the noble status of ultimate wealth. It is precisely for this reason. That's why they chose to follow celestial dragons. But then again, for some of them, this choice is not free. After all, in the final analysis, the dragon people are a group of special people who are born to favor the top. As a CP organization, they are just for the service of the celestial people, but who in this world is not acting as the dog of celestial dragons? So even if you know it well, you know everything about it. But as a strong player in the CP organization, their master holds supreme power. Regarding this as an accessory to celestial dragons. Naturally, there is nothing to care about. Besides, being able to become a celestial dragon's dog also requires certain qualifications and qualifications. Not everyone can do it. Plus, so they got a lot of privileges. So even the CP organization knows that these behaviors will be spurned. They still don't care too much. Therefore, for the daring guy like Hirayuya who suddenly appeared and dared to rob and escort the golden ship in the sky, the strong in the CP organization did not really regard it as the worst evil. This kind of stuff is for them. It's just an increase in credit. It's just a strong mark in their book of merit. If you have to say anything, it is this bold guy in front of you. How much surprise can it bring them? So that they can experience what they feel except during the previous training. Although this feeling may not happen at all, over the years, among the tasks performed by the CP organization. It's not that there are such brave guys. But they still didn't expect that Hirano would face them. Still talking and laughing, although in their eyes, Hirayuya was already a dead person. But then again, this matter is not so simple to do. Because at this moment, Hirano has already exerted his own strength. The breath of terror exploded. With Hirano's body as the center of the circle, it surged outwards. At this moment, the rest of the CP organization masters present finally realized a problem. That is, the mediocrity in front of them is not a small role that can be left to their discretion. Leave me all away. He left it to me to deal with it. The one who said this was the great swordsman in the CP organization. He is the absolute leader among the strong CP organizations. For this series of actions, it is natural to be responsible. So he lined up the crowd and stood up first, facing the Hirano in front of him. The person next to him said what the great swordsman said. Naturally, there is no doubt. Whether it is status or status. None of them can compare with this strong man who has one of the 12 sharp knives. What's more, The strength of the opponent is obvious to all. When he appeared, the aura of hegemony and ultimate exuded from Feng Youhui's body. Was suppressed in an instant. This is not groundless. The great swordsman came to the front. The distance from Hirayuya is already less than 5 feet. Everyone present could understand. Between these two people, there is bound to be a world-shattering battle. And the result of the two of them fighting. There is no doubt that it will determine the safety of celestial dragons and celestial dragons this time. Therefore, the powerful CP organizations next to them all cheered for this great swordsman in their hearts at the same time. You can't lose. The great swordsman was looking at Hirano, and Hirano was also looking at each other. The two people looked at each other like this. Suddenly, a terrifying breath burst out. Let the whole sky shake.